Chapter 4362. No relation whatsoever. Zhu Wuxin looked at her in silence. Yiqing Luo's lips curled. You're here. Are you trying to stop this pointless battle, or are you trying to help Bai Mei to deal with me? Since you understand me so well, why not? Guess what I'm thinking. Zhu Wuxian suddenly leaned forward and magnified his own face right into Yiqing Luo's pupils. Yiqing Luo looked at him indifferently. I'm guessing, both. And Zhu Wuxin's action. The surrounding people unconsciously sucked in a breath of cold air. When he saw the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion take the initiative to speak to the first young miss of the Gu clan, he felt a chill run down his spine. The young miss of the Gu estate clearly did not have a good attitude towards the pavilion master of the Scarlet Clear Pavilion. But the master of the Red Clear Pavilion laughed again and again. Yes, he smiled. Anyone who had heard the rumors about the Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master would know. The pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion was a cold and heartless man. People called him a person without a soul. He was always expressionless. Forever cold and indifferent. His entire body exuded a cold aura. But, however, when the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion faced the young lady of the Gu clan, he revealed a smile. Although, small is very shallow. It was almost too faint to be seen. But he did smile. Now, the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion had even taken the initiative to get close to the young miss of the Gu residence. Wasn't this telling everyone? This first young miss of the Gu residence was a subordinate of his Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. Everyone became more and more shocked and probed into the young miss of the Gu clan. With the Bone residence as her backing, Lord Bone Lord was her backing. The second young master of the Ren family was obsessed with her and adored her. He also had a close relationship with the young master of the Huangfu family. And now, even the master of the Red Clarity Pavilion had arrived. Just what was the identity of the first miss of the Gu residence? Everyone was rejoicing that they did not choose a side and make life difficult for the first miss of the Gu residence. There were also many people who looked at Gong Xiaozhu sympathetically. Gong Xiaozhu was so angry that her face was distorted, and the jealousy in her eyes burned continuously. She clenched her hands into fists and gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. Whereas for Yiqing Luo, who was leaning close to Zhu Wuxian, wasn't the least bit shocked. He had no intention of retreating. Just like that, he smiled and met Zhu Wuxin's eyes. The distance between them was so close that they could almost feel each other's breath. Both of them were wearing fiery red robes. One was cold and aloof. One was bewitching and arrogant. They stood so close to each other. It was as beautiful as a painting. Everyone came to a realization. This first young miss of the Bone Palace, who did not have any profound strength and was called trash, was not inferior in the slightest when she stood beside the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion. He wasn't suppressed by the cold aura of the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master at all. How could someone with such an aura be an ordinary person? The crowd discussed in hushed voices, as well as astonishment towards Yiqing Luo's guess. Their tones were filled with unconcealable respect. This caused Gong Xiaozhu's face to become even more distorted. After enduring for a long time, she finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Pavilion Master, what's the relationship between you two? Yu Ying, who was supporting Bai Mei, did not manage to grab her princess in time. Gong Xiaozhu rushed forward a few steps, his eyes filled with anger. Pavilion Master, that woman is a promiscuous woman. She can't stand the loneliness at all and goes around flirting. Even this princess's fiancé has fallen under her skirt. You must not be deceived by her. The woman screamed hysterically. This caused the two of them to pull apart some distance. Zhu Wuxian shot a glance at Gong Xiaozhu as he spoke calmly. Yiqing Luo, tell me, what's the relationship between us? Relationship? Yiqing Luo's mischievous gaze swept past Gong Xiaozhu, and looked at Zhu Wu Axian with a smile which didn't look like a smile. You and I have nothing to do with each other. Update complete. Moi, there's still the last chapter to update, to be delivered later. End of this chapter. Chapter 4363. 1 second to remember. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. N. Zhu Wu Axian seemed as though he knew that Yiqing Luo would reply in this way. There wasn't a single bit of unhappiness on his face. On the contrary, his thin lips curled up again, and this time the arc was very obvious. It shocked the surrounding crowd. Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master really smiled. But what made everyone's jaws drop onto the ground was, after Zhu Wu Axian smiled, he used a deep husky, which could be said to be an extremely gentle voice as he spoke. To you, I have nothing to do with you. But to me, you are the lady whom I want to woo. The surroundings were filled with the sounds of people drawing in cold air. The crowd simply couldn't believe their own ears. They were absolutely dreaming, absolutely hallucinating. In the rumors, the mysterious and cold Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master was always unsmiling, and his pair of eyes could freeze one to death. But now, not only was he smiling at a lady, he even spoke words of love. There were quite a number of ladies present who clasped their hands together as hearts popped out from their eyes. My legs are going soft. This is just too tempting. So the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master isn't too cold, but the only person he wants to warm is eldest young miss of the Gu residence. He's cold and stern to everyone, but only towards Gu residence's eldest young miss. He treats her gently. This is all the ladies' dream. The crowd felt that they had been shocked. All of them used envious gazes as they looked at Yiqing Luo. These words, when landed in different people's ears, had different feelings. Gong Xiaozhu and Bai Mei were about to explode from anger. Their faces turned pale as their entire body started to tremble slightly. Their tightly pursed red lips were almost bitten till blood came out. The flames of jealousy were burning in their hearts, almost burning their rationality. Their venomous gazes were scorching hot. Yiqing Luo naturally felt it. She raised her slender brows slightly as her long and narrow eyes squinted. The smile on her lips was filled with ridicule. Young Master Zhu's words are very moving, but you've used the wrong target. She only gave a slight smile. But in her half-squinted eyes, there was a chill that made one's heart tremble. Pavilion Master. In the end, Bai Mei could not bear it any longer. She shrieked, "Don't forget why you're here today." Bai Mei felt the most resentful. His internal organs were injured by Zhu Wuxin without any explanation. If it wasn't for her strong willpower and the fact that there was something in her body protecting her, he was afraid that he would lose his life now. But when it came to Zhu Wuxin, she still couldn't question him, couldn't seek justice for the injuries she had suffered. Because the other party was the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion. Even if she died, the Palace of Gloomy Darkness would not say anything for her. He was such an outstanding and honorable man. He was also Yiqing Luo, that slut servant. That was how venerable sovereigns were. The pavilion master was the same. What's so good about that bitch? Bai Mei's face was contorted with rage. But, the moment the man's eyes met her eyes, Ji Yunshu's expression froze. It was as if 10,000 years of frost had directly covered her body. She felt a chill run down her spine. All the rage, in the blink of an eye, they were all extinguished. She felt as though she was immersed in frost, shivering non-stop. Do you have the right to speak when I'm doing things? Zhu Wuxin's cold voice was filled with endless chill. Bai Mei shivered as she lowered her head, not daring to say another word. The surrounding crowd understood what was going on. This eldest young miss of the Gu residence was someone whom none of them could touch. Chapter 4364. 1 second to remember. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. The pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion was a person who placed the young miss of the Gu clan in the center of his heart and doted on her. It seemed that when it came to choosing sides in the future, they already had a candidate in mind. Chi, a chuckle broke the heavy atmosphere. The girl's eyes were filled with disdain as a cold glint flashed across her lips. Since young Master Chu is here on a mission, let's not waste each other's time. I am in a hurry to catch up with a friend that I haven't seen for a long time. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Zhu Wuxin replied with a calm expression. Then, he walked upstairs, minding his own business. It is indeed time for us to catch up. Yiqing Luo, long time no see. This guy's skin was quite thick. He clearly knew that the person she wanted to reminisce with wasn't him. But he did it on purpose. He substituted himself. Was she supposed to cooperate? Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. He turned around and walked out of the ruined restaurant. He passed by the innkeeper of the restaurant who wanted to cry but did not dare to say anything. She raised her eyebrows. She thought of how the waiter had hurried over to tell her that Renjiaming had been stopped. She stopped in her tracks, raised her hand and patted the innkeeper's shoulder. Princess Xia Zhu will bear all the losses of the restaurant today. Also, Princess Xia Zhu will also be responsible for the losses caused by the restaurant not being able to operate in the near future. The shopkeeper was dumbfounded. Yiqing Luo smiled. Don't be afraid, she will be willing to take responsibility. Saying that, Yiqing Luo left directly. Huangfu Sheng, Gu Zixi, and Ren Jiaming, who were standing behind him, were still dumbfounded. He watched as Yiqing Luo left. The three of them then regained their senses as they hurriedly brought their men and followed after Yiqing Luo. Stop right there. Who allowed you to leave? Seeing this, Bai Mei snapped and ordered the guards beside her, stop them. Stop them. However, whether it was the Huangfu secret guards or the imperial guards, all of them stood on the spot and looked at each other. No one dared to move a single step. What a joke. The pavilion master had already made his stance clear. He wanted to protect the first miss of the Gu estate. If they rashly touched young miss, the master of the Red Clear Pavilion would kill them. Who would dare to touch the young miss of the Gu estate? Bai Mei shouted several times, but there was no response. She was so angry that her face turned red. She was both angry and embarrassed. Even Gong Xiazhu, on seeing Ren Jiaming leaving with Yiqing Luo, didn't dare to go up and snatch it back forcefully. However, everyone was truly impressed. The first miss of the Gu estate actually dared to completely ignore the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion and leave by herself. If this happened to the emperor or the four great families' patriarchs, even they wouldn't dare to do this. In this world, only the first miss of the Gu clan would be so daring. At this moment, Zhu Wuxin, who was walking towards the second floor of the restaurant, stopped. He looked at the backs of Yiqing Luo and the rest who were already far away. His cold and deep eyes were devoid of any emotion. Gong Xiazhu clenched his fists tightly and snorted coldly in a low voice, that bitch really thinks she's so great. Does she think she can do whatever she wants with Bone Lord support? Pavilion Master is much more honorable than Bone Sovereign. Bai Mei did not respond. She stared intently at Yiqing Luo's departing back. That young and elegant face, under the malevolence, actually surfaced several layers of wrinkles. As though a piece of human skin was about to peel off from her face. Gong Xiazhu didn't know. But she was very clear. Towards Yiqing Luo, Chu Wu Axian was simply infatuated with her. Chapter 4365. 1 second to remember. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Even if Yi Qing Luo threw his face in front of everyone, Zhu Wu Axan wouldn't blame her at all. The more Bai Meixin thought about it, the more indignant she felt. As expected, Zhu Wu Axan stared at Yi Qing Luo's back view for several breaths. It was as if he was certain that the other party would not turn around. Without any hesitation, he lifted his foot and followed behind. Just as he reached the door, Zhu Wu Axan seemed to have thought of something as he took a look at Yi Qing Luo and then glanced sideways at Bai Mei. Earlier, did you hear what Yi Qing Luo said clearly? The restaurant's losses will be compensated. Saying that, he had already followed behind Yi Qing Luo. Bai Mei, he was so angry that he wanted to explode. He actually remembered clearly what Yi Qing Luo had casually said earlier, and even put it into action. Gong Xiaozhu originally heard Yi Qing Luo and the shopkeeper saying that she would be responsible for the losses, but she treated it as a joke. The last time at 100 Medicine House, she was cheated by Yi Qing Luo of more than half of her assets. And now he wanted her to take responsibility for this lousy restaurant. However, Bai Mei seemed to have seen through her thoughts. She sneered and tilted her head to look at her. Didn't you hear what the Pavilion Master said? Are you sure you want to defy Lord Pavilion Master's orders? All the fluctuations in Gong Xiaozhu's heart stopped at this moment. She bit her lips tightly and only managed to squeeze out 2 words after a long while, I don't dare. Huangfu Fengyan and Huangfu Dongyu's expressions were also extremely ugly because of Zhu Wuxin's appearance. Until the figures of those people disappeared completely. Huangfu Dongyu's face darkened as he looked at Bai Mei. What's going on? Why is the Pavilion Master here? They had arranged everything. It was to take advantage of the moment when Yi Qing Luo lost her profound energy. Kill Yi Qing Luo. On top of that, he wanted Pei Xing to leave the Huangfu family. Why did it come to a critical moment? Just like that, a Lord Pavilion Master popped up. This was like a duck that was about to be eaten was suddenly snatched away by a tiger. Why are you getting mad at me? If you have the ability, ask the Pavilion Master's people. Bai Mei sneered coldly. Huangfu Dongyu still wanted to say something. However, Huangfu Fengyan stopped her. Bai Mei's face contorted, and her eyes seemed to be stained with poison. Head bitch, I will definitely make her suffer a fate worse than death. As she gritted her teeth, his expression became even more ferocious. Suddenly, Gong Xiaozhu's eyes widened and she looked at Bai Mei in fright. Miss Bai, your face. Bai Mei's ferocious expression froze on her face. He subconsciously reached out to touch his face. What's wrong with my face? The Huangfu siblings also looked over when they heard the exclamation. When he saw Bai Mei's face, both of them sucked in a breath of cold air and quickly retreated. Gong Xiaozhu was also shocked. She took 2 steps back and stared at her in shock. Your face, look at it yourself. In a flurry, she took out a small bronze mirror from Yu Ying's bosom. With a trembling hand, he tossed it into Bai Mei's hand. What Bai Mei cared about the most was her face. He immediately raised the bronze mirror. In the bronze mirror, wrinkles appeared on the woman's face. More than half of it fell off from her face, revealing the purplish-black flesh underneath. Pieces fell off here and there, wrinkles. It made her look extremely terrifying. Bai Mei suddenly burst out with a terrified scream. She smashed the bronze mirror onto the ground and covered her face, screaming as she turned around and fled the scene. These mournful cries, even though they were very far away, Yi Qing Luo and the others could hear it. Gu Zixi looked towards the direction of the voice in puzzlement. What's the matter with that Bai Mei? How can she get high on her own? Chapter 4366. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into an ambiguous smile. Ren Jiaming limped as he walked by the side. Seeing the young lady's brows overflowing with craftiness, surely it's not you who did it. Yiqing Luo's pink lips were sweet like a fox's as her coquettish eyes squinted slightly as she said word by word, I merely gave her a small present, treated as Bai Mei's return gift to her. When the few of them saw Yiqing Luo smile, they couldn't help but shivered. One by one, they rubbed their arms, obviously knowing that Yiqing Luo was a female devil. Bai Mei still dared to provoke her. Her courage was really commendable. Let's observe a moment of silence for her. The few of them were chatting happily. However, no one paid any attention to Zhu Wuxin, who had been following behind them in silence the whole time. Even though he didn't say a single word. But the imposing manner which he was emitting made one unable to ignore his existence. The chilly air spread in the air. In between breaths, even the air seemed to have been condensed into frost. Gu Zixi would turn her head around from time to time to look at Zhu Wuaxian. This frequent action. This made Huang Fuxing a little unhappy. Just as Gu Zixi turned her head around once again to look at Zhu Wuaxian, Huang Fuxing's large palm was placed on Gu Zixi head. He cupped her face with his other hand. He turned her gaze to him. Gu Zixi blinked her eyes as she looked at Huang Fuxing, whose expression wasn't too good and couldn't help but smiled as her arms hooked around his neck. Hiya, you obviously know. I just wanted to see how long he was going to follow me for. Huang Fuxing's expression was still not too good. You're not allowed to look at other men for so long. Alright, I'll only look at Xing alone. Gu Zixi leaned forward and planted a light kiss on his cheek. Huang Fuxing's expression then turned slightly better. But Yiqing Luo, who was standing by the side, expressed that her expression wasn't too good. She hadn't contacted Xian for a long time. Now she didn't even know where Xian was. The two of them were actually openly showing off their love. Had she considered the feelings of her missing her husband so much that she fell ill? This baby also had emotions. Yiqing Luo's offensive gaze. He successfully stopped the two from showing off their affection. Gu Zixi cast a sneaky glance behind her and giggled as she moved closer to Yiqing Luo. Don't be angry, even if there's no overlord, isn't there? There's still an outstanding man waiting for you. Yiqing Luo pinched her waist. When Xing goes out to handle some matters, I'll help you choose a few outstanding men. How about that? Gu Zixi smiled apologetically. Okay, I was wrong. Don't let Xing hear this. It's too late, he has already heard it. Yiqing Luo lifted her chin, indicating her to look behind her. He turned his head. She saw Huang Fuxing, whom she had finally appeased, had a gloomy expression again. Gu Zixi wanted to cry. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have been the cheapest. Looking at Gu Zixi coaxing her own man, Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with gentleness. Ren Jianming limped over to Yiqing Luo and spat out a sentence, eldest miss. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past his face. He opened his eyes again. Where was Yiqing Luo's figure? Ren Jianming's face turned pale. He was about to call out to Huang Fuxing. But his eyes looked at the other side. Zhu Wuaxian held Yiqing Luo's wrist as the both of them stood there. The atmosphere was solemn. Chapter 43-67. It wasn't far. Yiqing Luo raised her head slightly. The emotions between her brows were very faint. Her gaze fell onto the man's wrist which was clasped on her. Let go of me. Do you hate me that much? Zhu Wuxin's voice was a little bitter. He didn't loosen his grip and Yiqing Luo could only struggle out of his grip while replying, to tell the truth, I don't hate you. She rubbed her wrist and took a step back, putting some distance between them. Then, she raised her head and looked at him. Why are you following me? I missed you. Zhu Wuxin's ability to say sweet nothings had already been activated. He used this expressionless face to say sweet nothings, but it did not feel out of place at all. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with foolishness. Did Master Chu think that I didn't hear what Bai Mei said earlier? The relationship between Chu Wuxin and Gloomy Palace. Yiqing Luo didn't intend to investigate further. No matter how he asked. Since Zhu Wuxian was unwilling to say it, there was nothing she could do. The only thing he could be sure of was, Zhu Wuxin was in the heaven realm because of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. The reason why Chu Wuxin had appeared was also because of the Gloomy Palace. Thinking of this, the smile on Yiqing Luo's lips became even more ridiculing. To tell the truth, I am also very curious, what is the motive of Bai Mei reminding you not to forget? You want to know? Zhu Wuxin chuckled softly. There was a black mist in his eyes. There was a strange coldness in his deep and cold eyes. Yiqing Luo's brows creased slightly. Will you say it? As long as you come with me, I can tell you everything you want to know. Chu Wuxin's thin lips curled up. His expression was ice cold, but his tone was extremely serious. Yiqing Luo's heart sunk slightly as she subconsciously took a step back, as her eyes looked at Zhu Wuxian vigilantly. That vigilant look. It stung Zhu Wuxian's eyes. He couldn't help but laugh, his eyes full of bitterness. Did I completely lose your trust after one mistake? Yiqing Luo pursed her lips and didn't say anything. However, the wariness between his brows did not relax because of this. Chu Wuxian gazed deeply at Yiqing Luo's face. The rumbling black fog in his eyes became thicker and thicker. He was almost drowned in the darkness. After a long while, the look in his eyes changed slightly. His thin lips moved slightly, and he said very seriously, I said, I will never do anything to hurt you. Yiqing Luo's pink lips pursed even tighter. She really couldn't figure out Zhu Wuxin. Zhu Wuxin's obsession with her was very deep. It had already exceeded the scope of a normal person. Yiqing Zhen couldn't imagine what kind of things a person who had gone crazy because of obsession would do. Especially those who were connected to the Dark Nether Palace. Chu Wuxian didn't wait for Yiqing Luo's reply. What he said didn't make Yiqing Luo relax. His eyes darkened and his voice lowered. It's been a long time since we last met. Let's catch up. What do you want to say? Yiqing Luo asked. Let's find a place and have a drink. Chu Wuxin did not give a direct answer. Yiqing Luo took a look at Zhu Wuxian and looked at the three people who were gathered not too far away, looking at her worriedly. She pondered for a moment before answering, okay. Gu Residence, Yiqing Luo's courtyard. Guyun carefully served up the wine flask as she listened to Yiqing Luo's orders and retreated. The surrounding, Yiqing Luo had already asked everyone to leave. Guyun just walked out from the courtyard. Chapter 43-68. Guyun shook her head. Everyone's faces fell. Although the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion lord's attitude towards Yiqing Luo seemed much gentler than the others. However, he was a cold-blooded and merciless person who killed without batting an eyelid. If Yiqing Luo's words made the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion lord unhappy? What if the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master made a move on Yiqing Luo? After all, Yiqing Luo had no profound energy. Thinking of this, Ren Jianming could not stand still. No, I have to go in and take a look. Who knows if the Scarlet Clear Pavilion's pavilion master will go berserk and make a move on our young miss. With that, he was about to rush into the courtyard. Huang Fuxing hurriedly pulled him back. Ah, Luo must have something to say to him if he agreed to talk to him alone. Don't mess things up here. What do you mean by causing trouble? I'm worried about young mistress. Ren Jianming complained. Huang Fuxing suddenly stared at Ren Jianming, sizing him up as if he wanted to see through Ren Jianming. That blatant gaze. Ren Jianming clutched his chest uncomfortably. What do you want to do? Huang Fuxing narrowed his eyes. Ah, Luo said that, you told the public that she is your fiancée and that you've been pestering her. It's all an act. But, why do I feel like you've really fallen for Ah Luo? Ren Jianming's heart skipped a beat. He opened his mouth to deny it. But when the words reached his mouth, the girl's confident and flamboyant smile appeared in his mind. He couldn't bring himself to deny it. Gu Zixi moved her little head over and looked Ren Jianming up and down. She raised her index finger and shook it. You better not fall in love with Ah Luo. She already has a husband. If you really fall in love with her, you'll get hurt. Husband. Husband. When Ren Jianming heard these two words, he was startled. Gu Zixi's beautiful eyes widened. Yes, our Ah Luo has a peerless husband, and their relationship is very good. Don't tell me, you really fell in love with Ah Luo. Unparalleled in the world, their relationship was very good. Gu Zixi's words made Ren Jianming's heart feel like it had been punched hard by something. It made him feel suffocated. Why, when he heard that Yiqing Luo had a husband? Why was his heart so sad? Could it be that he really? This thought made Ren Jianming shudder. He hurriedly shook his head. Although there were many scars on his handsome face, an exaggerated laugh appeared. I pestered her because I wanted her to promise me something. Ha ha ha, she's so violent, how could I fall for her? As he spoke, he let out an exaggerated laugh. Then, as if to change the topic, he asked curiously, is Mrs. name Ah Luo? Is your relationship with First Miss very good? Yiqing Luo had been in the heaven realm for this period of time. Everyone knew about the first young miss of the Bone clan. But he had never heard Yiqing Luo mention her real name. That's right. Not only do we have a good relationship with Ah Luo, but we also know a lot about him. Gu Zixi indeed didn't pursue further about his feelings towards Yiqing Luo as he followed along with Ren Jianming's topic. In the courtyard, Yiqing Luo pushed the wine pot in front of Zhu Wu Axian as she tilted her head and looked at him. Now it's quiet, what do you want to say? Say it directly. Zhu Wu Axian poured himself a cup of wine and downed it in one gulp. His indifferent face had no trace of emotion. Chapter 43-69. Accompany me for a drink or two. The man's deep voice was cold, but not knowing why, she could hear a few hints of pleading in it. Yiqing Luo. This fellow was getting worse and worse at disguising himself in front of her. Words of love came one after another. Even the ability to act pitiful had already been activated. To tell the truth, towards other men other than Ah Xian, she wouldn't have much feelings towards any handsome man or bitter love scheme. But looking at Zhu Wu Axian's contrast. Moreover, towards Zhu Wu Axian, she really couldn't be considered as loathing or hatred. So she didn't really reject him. She picked up another jug of wine and poured a cup. She didn't even touch glasses with Zhu Wu Axian as she directly drank a cup of wine. Then she put down the wine cup and looked at Zhu Wu Axian. I've finished the wine, speak. Zhu Wu Axian's fingers which were holding the wine cup tightened slightly. His fingertips were strangely white. Between his pupils, there was a thick black mist, shrouding all his emotions. Just like that, he looked at Yiqing Luo quietly. Between his brows, there was a sense of self-ridicule. Yiqing Luo, who was stared at by this gaze, rubbed her arms as she angrily retorted, "What are you looking at? If you don't talk about proper matters, I'm going to chase you away." Looking at you. Another sudden words of love. Still expressionless emotions. Looking at that face. Yiqing Luo was suspecting if she had heard wrongly. But immediately following that, she heard him continuing, you won't chase me away. Incredible Zhu Wuxian. She indeed wouldn't chase him away. After all, she couldn't beat Zhu Wuxian now. If Zhu Wuxian wasn't willing to leave, what could she use to chase him away? Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, not willing to listen to Zhu Wuxian's words of love. Yes, I can't chase you away, but I can leave. Saying that, she stood up and turned around as she walked towards the inner courtyard. She hadn't even taken 2 steps. A man's low voice was heard from behind. Bai Mei came to Heaven Realm, and the reason why you came to Heaven Realm, don't you want to know? This sentence successfully stopped Yiqing Luo from taking another step. She returned to the stone table and sat down, placing one hand on the stone table as she asked him, what reason? Let's drink. Zhu Wuxian shook his wine cup. Yiqing Luo. She'd better leave. However, just as he was about to leave, the man continued, the Huangfu clan clearly knows your true identity, yet they allow Bai Mei to mess around with the imperial family. They don't expose your identity as the young miss of the Gu clan. Aren't you curious about the reason behind this? Yiqing Luo, was Zhu Wuxian doing this on purpose? Seeing that she still hadn't turned around, Zhu Wuxian unleashed his ultimate move. Even though they know that Di Zun won't let the Huangfu clan off, the Huangfu siblings still insist on killing you. Aren't you curious why? Yiqing Luo, fine. You win. Yiqing Luo lifted her skirt and sat back down heavily. He grabbed a bottle of wine and slammed it on the table. How do you want to drink? I'll keep you company to the end. Zhu Wuxian seemed as though he couldn't detect the anger in Yiqing Luo's words as his cold gaze stared at Yiqing Luo's face. Let's ask each other questions. If you can't answer, then drink. How about that? Truth or dare? Yiqing Luo blurted out. Zhu Wuxian didn't understand the meaning of Yiqing Luo's words, but he understood the first 3 words. His thin lips curled upwards as he replied seriously and solemnly, yes, it must be the truth. Yiqing Luo's brows rose, all right. Sure. She could take the opportunity to ask him a lot of things which she had long wanted to know. Chapter 4370. Remember in 1 second, 800 $sign small/say net. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Zhu Wuxian set up 2 cups and poured a full pot of wine. Yiqing Luo stared at the rippling wine. Who asks first? Whatever, Zhu Wuxian replied calmly. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled as she replied impolitely, then I'll start first. First question, are you from the secluded palace? No. Zhu Wuxian's answer was very decisive. Yiqing Luo raised her long and narrow brows. We have agreed, it must be the truth, no lies. I'm not lying. His expression did not change. Yiqing Luo touched her chin. If you're not from the Palace of Darkness, then why are you involved with the Palace of Darkness? This is the second question. Zhu Wuxian did not answer. It's my turn to ask you. Yiqing Luo spread out her hands. Sure, ask away. Do you have any feelings for me? Zhu Wuxian's gaze was solemn as he looked at her. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as her expression turned solemn. No. Zhu Wuxian's brows drooped slightly. Yiqing Luo didn't want to explain anything as she asked the second question. Why are you together with the people from secluded palace? Cooperation, Zhu Wuxian answered simply. Yiqing Luo rubbed her hair. What's the difference between your answer and not answering at all? Can't it be simpler? His entire body fell forward. F***ck. Yiqing Luo was cursing in her heart. How could he be so unlucky? She was about to take a deep breath to stabilize her body that was about to kiss the earth. He didn't even have time to react. She could only smell a familiar scent drifting over to her nose. A light and elegant plum fragrance lingered in the air. A pair of thick arms caught her firmly. Yiqing Luo's body stiffened. This aura, it was very familiar. Almost a whiff. Yiqing Luo was able to ascertain the other party's identity. However, she couldn't understand. Why did he appear here? Yiqing Luo frowned as she struggled, trying to break free from the wrist that was restraining her arm. But it was the arm that held her. He abruptly increased the strength of his hands. Her delicate body was tightly locked in his embrace. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even more tightly. She looked up angrily. As soon as he raised his head, he found himself staring into a pair of deep, bottomless black pupils. His eyes were extremely dark and heavy. It was quiet and serene, without the slightest bit of brilliance. Just staring fixedly at Yiqing Luo. There was a hint of coldness in his eyes. However, if one were to look closely, one would be able to see deep emotions in those black eyes. Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffened, her pink lips pursed slightly. Let go. Hugging the man at such a close distance. It made Yiqing Luo feel extremely uncomfortable. Other than Dmo Xian, her body was repulsed by any intimate touch from the opposite sex. I won't. The man's voice was deep and low. His eyes were dark and gloomy. I miss you. I miss you very much. Now that I've seen you, I don't want to let you go. Following his words, he even forcefully pulled Yiqing Luo into his embrace. His arms tightly embraced the girl's delicate body, as though he wanted to let the young lady's body be tainted with his scent. That plum fragrance, although simple and elegant. But Yiqing Luo couldn't take it. Her eyelashes fluttered as she clasped his hand which was restrained on her body. Zhuwu Axian, let go of me. The person in front of her. Wasn't it Zhuwu Axian? Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master, Zhuwu Axian. Yiqing Luo had not expected that she would be able to meet Zhuwu Axian when she reached the earth boundary. Chapter 4371. Romance Chinese Network Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Yiqing Luo slowly sat up straight as her gaze met Zhuwu Axian's gaze seriously. Then I'll tell you. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to open her mouth, Chu Wuxin suddenly reached out, picked up the wine cup on the table, and drained it in one gulp. This action made Yiqing Luo swallow back the words that she was about to say. She looked at Chu Wuxin. What do you mean? You don't need to answer this question. He put down the wine glass, and his slender fingers slowly wiped away the wine dripping from his lips. Because of the alcohol, his eyes seemed a bit deep. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. He was the one who insisted on getting the answer. Now he was drinking for her and preventing her from answering. Yiqing Luo was unable to see through the person in front of her. What was he thinking in his heart? It's your turn to ask. Zhuwu Axian didn't give Yiqing Luo any time to continue thinking as he called out to remind her. Yiqing Luo stared at him for a while, but under his expressionless expression, she really couldn't see anything deeper. Fine, you're the one who won't let me answer. She restrained her emotions and continued to ask, you said before, what is Bai Mei's purpose in coming to the heaven realm? Was it arranged by the palace of gloomy darkness, or did they come after me? Zhu Wuxin, our target is you. I'll arrange it. You're using this simple answer again. Yiqing Luo pouted, can't you give me some useful answers? Bai Mei's only goal now is to send you to hell with her. This time, Zhuwu Axian lengthened his sentence. The palace of gloomy shadows knows that you are in the heaven realm, so they sent Bai Mei over. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes suddenly narrowed. As expected, the secluded darkness palace already knew that she was in the heaven realm. But there was no movement at all. If Ren Jianming hadn't come looking for her because she was a pharmacist, Even now, she might not know that the Heaven Realm had already been infiltrated by the forces of the Nether Palace. Her arrival in the Heaven Realm could be considered as an accident. Even if she was arrogant in the Heaven Realm, it definitely wouldn't attract the attention of the Dark Palace. Unless, the secluded Darkness Palace had long known that she would arrive at the Heaven Realm at this time. In Yiqing Luo's mind, the first thought was, Bloodbone Barbaric King. Could it be, all of this was actually a conspiracy set up by the Bloodbone Barbarian King and the Abyss Palace? Then, what was the use of White Charm? Restraining Baisu. Yiqing Luo. Just as Yiqing Luo's mind was filled with thoughts, Zhu Wuxin's voice rang out beside his ear. Did you hear what I asked you? Yiqing Luo regained her senses. What? Zhu Wuxian stared at Yiqing Luo for some time as the emotions on his face were like a whirlpool churning. After a long time, he finally said, I just suddenly want to know who you are. When he said the last 5 words, his tone became extremely low. A pair of deep eyes stared at her without blinking. It was as if he had seen through her eyes. He saw through everything about her. Yiqing Luo's heart thumped, the smile on her lips was somewhat forced. What are you talking about? The her in my memory shouldn't be like you. Zhu Wuxian leaned forward slightly, closing the distance between the two of them. I've confirmed that you didn't disguise yourself, and you have her birthmark on your body. The close distance made Yiqing Luo able to smell the faint plum fragrance from Zhu Wuxian's body clearly. But this fragrance wasn't able to make Yiqing Luo's heart calm down. Chapter 43-72. 3464. Bringing out the evidence on the contrary, it made Yiqing Luo's heart inexplicably flustered. She frowned as she took 2 steps back, avoiding Zhu Wuxian's aura which enveloped her. Zhu Wuxian didn't force himself to get close, but that pair of bottomless eyes turned even deeper and colder. Who on earth are you? His words paused slightly as he sat back down and his gaze fell onto the wine cup. Of course, you can also choose to drink wine. Yiqing Luo's eyes, from the start till the end, had never left Zhu Wuxian's line of sight. Drink wine. Wasn't drinking wine to prove to Zhu Wuxian that she wasn't the original Yiqing Luo? Her gaze suddenly congealed as her brows were covered with a layer of laziness. Her lips curled into a gorgeous smile, which was extremely dazzling. Young Master Zhu, what do you mean by this question? Now is the time for you to answer the question. Zhu Wuxian stared at Yiqing Luo without blinking. All right. Yiqing Luo sighed as she raised her hand and her slender jade fingers gently caressed her face. Her posture was graceful and alluring, as her wrist lifted the flame-robed sleeves, like a burning flame. Following that, was the young lady's clear voice, one word at a time, I am Yiqing Luo. Truth. Zhu Wuxian's eyes sunk. Yiqing Luo's lips curled, truth, I am Yiqing Luo. She was indeed speaking from the bottom of her heart. No matter if it was in the past or now. Her name was indeed Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wuxian's eyes deepened. Before he opened his mouth, Yiqing Luo suddenly leaned in closer to him. Between her brows, there was a slight smile. Young Master Zhu, isn't this question of yours a little too funny? If I'm not Yiqing Luo, then who do you think I am? Between his breaths, a delicate fragrance from the young lady entered his nose. Zhu Wuxian's body suddenly stiffened. That pair of sunken eyes congealed for a moment. Yiqing Luo continued to smile sweetly. I'm very curious, what is the reason that made young Master Zhu? I'm not Yiqing Luo. Right from the beginning. Zhu Wuxian's breathing was slightly tightened as his entire body tensed up, making him turn his head away. If he looked at the young lady's smile which was just inches away. From time to time, a delicate fragrance wafted into his nostrils. He was afraid that he would not be able to control himself. Zhu Wuxin's hands on the stone table were tightly clenched into fists. He despised himself in his heart. When facing Yiqing Luo, he was always unable to control his true feelings. Yiqing Luo saw Zhu Wuxian shifting his gaze away. Then, he sat back in his seat. Her lips curled upwards, her flowery pink lips curled into a teasing smile. Right from the start, Master Zhu felt that I'm not Yiqing Luo, then why? Repeatedly appear in front of me and say such ambiguous words. That's right. With that, she chuckled softly, or perhaps, young Master Chu is finding excuses for himself because he failed to woo her. If that's the case, I don't mind cooperating with young Master Chu. Yiqing Luo. Chu Wuxin suddenly shouted. He suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed Yiqing Luo's arm. He forcefully pulled her into his embrace. That strength was extremely great. Yiqing Luo was also unable to struggle free. What do you mean? She raised her head as she looked at him quietly. Zhu Wuxian's gaze was suffused with a sliver of coldness. I want an answer. I've answered your question. Yiqing Luo's tone also turned cold. Whether you believe me or not, that's your business. Zhu Wuxian's hand which was holding her arm increased in strength. Yiqing Luo's brows creased slightly. If you feel that I'm not Yiqing Luo, then show me the evidence. They were all shouting the Overlord, the Overlord. Where is the Overlord? Where is the Duck Overlord? The Overlord is in your hearts. End of this chapter. Chapter 43-73. Who I want to be with for the rest of my life. Zhu Wuxian's eyes were icy cold, and when he heard Yiqing Luo's words, his body stiffened once again. He was stiff, and even his fingers on her arm were stiff. Just like that, the two of them looked at each other for a while. Yiqing Luo had not the slightest fluctuation in her emotions. The atmosphere was tense. In the end, Zhu Wuxin loosened his grip. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as she rubbed her wrist while looking at him with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Mr. Chu is really strange. Since in your heart, you've already determined that I'm not the person you're looking for, then why do you need to show mercy to me? Zhu Wuxian's deep eyes seemed to be hiding some kind of hurricane. He stared at Yiqing Luo as his voice was deep and cold. Do you still want to ask questions? Yes. He didn't want to be entangled in this issue, and Yiqing Luo naturally wouldn't pursue this issue with him. The news that she came from another world. The fewer people who knew, the better. This was especially true for someone like Zhu Wuxin, someone she didn't know if he was a friend or foe. All the more reason not to let him know. Zhu Wuxian squinted at Yiqing Luo as his fingertips rubbed the wine cup. Ask. Yiqing Luo asked, has the Bloodbone Barbaric King also collaborated with the Nether Palace? Zhu Wuxin stared at the wine glass without even lifting his gaze. I'm not familiar with it. I've never seen it. What he meant was, you didn't see him in the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Or could it be that the barbaric Bloodbone King had never appeared when he was in the Dark Nether Palace? Why does it feel like Zhu Wuxin doesn't seem to know anything when I ask him? Why can't you choose me? Is it only because I appeared later than him? Zhu Wuxian's next question followed closely. Yiqing Luo's expression congealed as she deliberated over her words before she opened her mouth to reply. It's not because you appeared later than him. Something like love doesn't differentiate by who comes first. It's just that when I saw Xian, I had already determined that he was the person whom I wanted to be with for the rest of my life. Zhu Wuxin's eyes seemed to be covered by a black fog. Even the cold expression on her face could not conceal the chilliness that was emanating from her body. Yiqing Luo intentionally didn't bother about Zhu Wuxian's emotions as she continued to ask, I want to know the detailed plan of secluded Darkness Palace in the Heaven Realm. This was the real crux of the matter. As long as he knew the plan of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. She could think of a way to destroy the Palace of Darkness's plan in the Heaven Realm. Yiqing Luo was waiting for Zhu Wuxian's reply. He watched helplessly as Yiqing Luo picked up the wine cup which she had been holding tightly in her hand, and drained it in one gulp. Yiqing Luo, okay, according to the rules. Indeed, he could use this method to evade an answer. Yiqing Luo retracted her gaze as she kicked the stone block which Zhu Wuxian was sitting on. It's your turn to ask. Must it be him? Zhu Wuxian placed the wine cup heavily on the stone table. The porcelain cup collided with the stone table, producing a crisp sound. Yiqing Luo patiently replied seriously, yes, it has to be him. If it's not him, it won't do. Then, she asked, is the person behind the scenes of the Dark Palace in the Heaven Realm? Zhu Wuxian didn't hesitate as he picked up the wine cup and drained it in one gulp. Following that, he looked towards Yiqing Luo as he asked his own question. Initially, Yiqing Luo only treated her own question as it had touched the bottom line of his collaboration with Secluded Darkness Palace. So she avoided answering. But there were several questions consecutively. Even the simplest. How many people from Secluded Darkness Palace? This kind of question. Zhu Wuxian directly drank the wine and then asked her own question. End of this chapter. Chapter 43-74. Yiqing Luo, don't go. A few times. How would Yiqing Luo not know? This guy was obviously doing it on purpose. If you want to drink, just say so. Was there any meaning in playing this game of you ask and I answer to get information from her? Moreover, the questions he asked were all about personal feelings. His words were instigating her to have a change of heart, quickly change of heart. To think that she had answered all his questions so seriously. After another question, Zhu Wuxian raised his wine cup and started drinking. Yiqing Luo couldn't bear it any longer as she stretched out her hand and pressed his hand which was holding the wine glass. If you want a drink, go back to your own place to drink, I won't accompany you. Due to the alcohol, Zhu Wuxian's eyes became hazy for a moment. That pair of black, glass-like eyes were even more dazzling and dazzling. The coldness on her face faded a little. His hand was forcefully pressed back onto the stone table. The wine cup was placed behind the stone table. The girl then stood up. Zhu Wuxian frantically stretched out his hand and grabbed the young lady's wrist. Yiqing Luo. Don't go. His voice was a little hoarse because of the alcohol. There seemed to be some pain in his hoarse voice. Yiqing Luo's hand moved. She was unable to struggle free from his palm. Yiqing Luo. I won't drink anymore. I'll answer the questions properly, alright. Zhu Wuxian was apparently slightly drunk. When he spoke, he actually sounded a little humble. Yes. These two words surfaced in Yiqing Luo's mind. Because the man seemed to be begging her. His eyes were blurred by the smell of alcohol. That hoarse voice and bitter tone. Both of them were filled with unbearable humbleness. Yiqing Luo was in a daze, in her mind. Zhu Wuxian had always been a cold and aloof person with a poker face. He was a person who would remain calm even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. Even if she was taught by others and learned a few sweet nothings. However, his personality was still extremely cold. But now, revealing one's true nature after drinking. Or was it that his heart was too uncomfortable? Why did he have to be so petty? Yiqing Luo had to admit. Looking at Zhu Wuxian's current state, she really couldn't bring herself to do it. Zhu Wuxian was really good at using this trick of injuring himself to gain confidence. Yiqing Luo sighed and sat back. Alright, let go first. Zhu Wuxian obediently let go of him. He continued to stare at her with his misty eyes. She was not used to such a contrast. Unexpectedly, after Zhu Wuxin got drunk, he seemed to have changed into a different person. She pushed the glass away and looked at him sternly. Ask and answer directly. No one is allowed to drink. If you ask, you have to answer. Zhu Wuxin sat up straight. His cold face carried a hint of drunkenness and a different emotion. All right. Zhu Wuxian was really good at using this trick of injuring himself to gain confidence. Yiqing Luo sighed and sat back. All right, let go first. Zhu Wuxin obediently let go of him. He continued to stare at her with his misty eyes. She was not used to such a contrast. Unexpectedly, after Zhu Wuxin got drunk, he seemed to have changed into a different person. She pushed the glass away and looked at him sternly. Ask and answer directly. No one is allowed to drink. If you ask, you have to answer. Zhu Wuxin sat up straight. His cold face carried a hint of drunkenness and a different emotion. All right. She had not expected that after Zhu Wuxin got drunk, he seemed to have changed into another person. She pushed the glass away and looked at him sternly. Ask and answer directly. No one is allowed to drink. If you ask, you have to answer. Zhu Wuxin sat up straight. His cold face carried a hint of drunkenness and a different emotion. All right. End of this chapter. Chapter 43-75. You indeed cared about him a lot. Yiqing Luo's expression turned indifferent. Her pair of eyes squinted. The young lady's change in emotions was naturally felt by Zhu Wuxian. He looked at the expressionless young lady and suddenly laughed softly. Even if you look at me like this, it won't change the fact that he is unable to protect you. If you are with me, I will absolutely not let you suffer any harm. No one will dare to touch you. His words were sonorous and forceful, as though he was making a declaration. But it didn't move Yiqing Luo. In this world, the only person who understood her was Dmo Xian alone. Only Dmo Xian knew what she really wanted. She didn't need anyone's protection. She didn't need that kind of protection that would keep her like a canary, not being harmed at all. She would rely on Dmo Xian. But that was only because Dmo Xian was her man. She could choose to rely on him. But she didn't need to rely on him. But Zhu Wuxian apparently didn't understand. Or perhaps, his so-called love was to protect her, not letting her get hurt. But he neglected the real thought of being loved by the one he loved. She had never felt that Dmo Xian was unable to protect her. Because Dmo Xian respected her choice, giving her a chance to grow. If she continued to fly slowly under Dmo Xian's wings, there was a possibility that one day, she would forget how to fly. She didn't want to become that kind of person. Haven't you always wanted to know why I didn't choose you? Yiqing Luo laughed as she raised her eyes and met his gaze. This is the reason. Protecting you, not willing to let you get hurt, is the reason why you rejected me. Zhu Wuxian's cold face was covered with a thin layer of frost. You won't understand. Yiqing Luo didn't want to argue with him on this topic. But Zhu Wuxian obviously didn't intend to let this matter rest. His expression was solemn and his tone was chilly. His entire body was filled with a chilly intent. Yiqing Luo, Huangfu's siblings knew your identity but still dared to lay their hands on you. Isn't it because of Dmo Xian's incompetence? If he could show a little bit of courage, Huangfu's siblings would take a detour when they see you. This could be. This was the longest speech that Zhu Wuxin had ever spoken, right? Yiqing Luo slowly stood up. Her expression was no longer as calm as it had been when they met face to face. His gaze carried with it an aura of disdain for the entire world. She placed her hands on the stone table and leaned over to look at him. That pair of long and narrow eyes were flowing with brilliance, lazy and noble. Every single one of her movements was like that of an empress, emitting a domineering aura. She was angry. Just like that, Zhu Wuxin raised his head and their eyes met. Their eyes were filled with different kinds of hurricanes. Sparks flew as they collided with each other. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up in ridicule, her tone was icy cold and filled with an intense viciousness. It wasn't just anger. Moreover, he was very angry. Don't think that I don't know what request the people of the gloomy palace agreed to the Huangfu siblings. Are you trying to sow discord between me and Xian? Aren't you guys looking down on me? Zhu Wuxin still did not speak. The cold air spread between the two of them. It was as if it had been frozen into frost. After a long time, a self-mocking chuckle broke the silence at this moment. Ha! That laugh made one's heart wrench inexplicably. You indeed care about him a lot. He couldn't tolerate anyone saying anything bad about him. And he couldn't tolerate anyone doubting him. Update complete. Moi, end of this chapter. Chapter 4376. Chu Wuxian felt that it was funny. He was unable to understand why he had to endure these disturbing words in front of Yiqing Luo. Logic told him very clearly. Don't ask any more questions regarding that person. But his body was not under his control. He just couldn't help but want to see, in Yiqing Luo's heart, what kind of position that person occupied. A fluke hope. He could surpass that person, to let Yiqing Luo remember him. But, now, he saw it. To Yiqing Luo, that person was more important than herself. Jealous? It's jealousy. Jealous, wanting to take Yiqing Luo as his own, to belong to him alone. In her mind, there was only the memory of him. Zhu Wuxian. Yiqing Luo sensed that Zhu Wuxian's breathing was very messy. Even his aura was uncontrollably agitated. As though something was undergoing a change. Yiqing Luo called out to Zhu Wuxian. But she didn't get a reply from him. She stretched out her hand and pushed Zhu Wuxian. Zhu Wuxian's eyes then focused, as it slowly landed on Yiqing Luo. Forget it, you're drunk so there's no need to continue this game. Yiqing Luo said, I'll send you to the inn. Wait. Zhu Wuxian made a sound, as his deep black eyes, cold and indifferent gaze, was strangely breathtaking. He swayed his body, as he slowly stood up. That cold face which was dyed red by the alcohol, had a different style. Earlier, you asked me a question, now. It's my turn to ask you the last question. Zhu Wuxian's gaze towards her, had a subtle change. Yiqing Luo looked at his swaying body. Nor had any intention to support him. She stood on the original spot, her pink lips slightly tightened. After muttering to herself for a moment, she said, the last question, you ask. Zhu Wuxin stared at her face without blinking, as if he was trying to memorize her face. That fervent gaze. It made Yiqing Luo have an inexplicable ominous premonition. Before she had time to think in detail, she heard Zhu Wuxian's cold voice asking, do you still remember, when you reached the earth boundary, you fell into a coma for half a month? That was the first thing I did wrong. Yiqing Luo's brows twitched. He continued, Yiqing Luo, if I'm wrong for the second time, will you still treat me as your friend? Yiqing Luo's expression sunk. His heart felt like it had been struck by something. Her pupils suddenly contracted, her eyes locked onto Zhu Wuxian's face. You, what do you mean? As soon as the words left his mouth, she felt dizzy all of a sudden. His body swayed weakly. Then, he collapsed to the ground. However, the person who should have been slightly drunk and surrounded by the smell of alcohol reached out his hand quickly and caught hold of her firmly. His footsteps were steady and steady, where was the slightest bit of his previous shakiness. Yi Qing Luo's chest tightened. You are lying to me. He was not drunk at all. His goal, from the very beginning, was to lay his hands on her. She was really stupid. He could even get Zhu Wuxin to use the same method to deceive him a second time. Yi Qing Luo was so angry that she wanted to slap herself. He also wanted to tear Zhu Wuxin apart. But her entire body was weak and her mind was in a mess. It made her unable to maintain her consciousness. In the end, her thoughts had completely drifted away. Just as her eyes had sunk into darkness. Faintly, she heard the man's icy cold and helpless voice, "I'm sorry. This is the last time. Hurry up and read the latest updates. Download address." Chapter 4377. Yi Qing Luo, go to hell for the last time. I will tear you into pieces for the last time as well. Yi Qing Luo's heart was going berserk. If only she believed Zhu Wuxian for one more time. She was an idiot. Heaven Realm, Old City Palace. The emperor was dressed in a bright yellow dragon robe, leading numerous palace servants as he stood respectfully at a certain spot. All of them had an extremely devout expression on their faces. As though they were welcoming some important person. Everyone didn't know how long they stood there. Their foreheads were dripping with sweat. But they still maintained a respectful attitude as they waited quietly. Behind the emperor, a young man stood beside an empress in a phoenix robe. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and said impatiently, "Mother, who is father welcoming? Who is it that needs us to welcome personally? What kind of person is father welcoming?" Not only did he welcome them personally, but they still hadn't arrived. They were the Heaven Realm's royal family. The master who controlled the entire Heaven Realm. They actually had to wait for someone in such a lowly manner. Even the four heavenly families didn't have such treatment right. The young man's voice wasn't loud. But it wasn't small. The emperor glanced sideways, his gaze was sharp and filled with warning. The empress immediately grabbed her son's arm, using her gaze to stop his displeasure. The young man pouted unhappily. It was all Imperial Sister's fault, disappearing so early in the morning. Causing him to be dragged here by father to stand for 2 hours. He wasn't even allowed to rest or drink any water. His heart was filled with injustice. But thinking of father's warning gaze, the young man suppressed the discomfort in his body, as he stood on the spot obediently. But the impatient expression on his face didn't retract. Just at this moment. Suddenly a piece of pure and holy light shrouded in all directions. Following that, a ray of light was cast downwards. The emperor's face was instantly filled with joy as he coughed lightly, reminding the people behind to maintain their manners. The empress hurriedly pulled the young man below. What entered everyone's eyes was a huge 9-tailed white fox. Its 4 limbs were burning like flames, its 9 furry long tails were intertwining and swaying. That elegant and noble 9-tailed fox approached from afar. The crowd could only feel a tremendous pressure crushing down upon them. The young man stared at that 9-tailed fox, as his eyes were covered by the flames. 9-tailed fox, a pure white 9-tailed fox without any impurities. What a beautiful 9-tailed fox. The youth could not suppress the restlessness in his heart. Greetings, Lord Overlord. The emperor's voice was filled with excitement. Then, he knelt down in the direction of the 9-tailed fox. A group of palace servants followed suit and knelt down. The youth's reaction was a step too slow and he was forcefully pressed to the ground by the empress. The youth knelt on the ground, but he could not help but glance at the mighty 9-tailed fox from the corner of his eyes. A figure slowly walked down from the back of the nine-tailed fox. That figure was tall and stalwart. He wore a shimmering purple brocade robe with silver embroidery. His black hair was tied up in a simple jade crown. His aura was boundlessly domineering, and he exuded a noble and cold aura. Following the appearance of the man, a terrifying aura spread out in all directions. Even the air had become much thinner. That person was as elegant and noble as a god. No one dared to look at him directly. After the man landed on the ground, the huge and mighty nine-tailed fox disappeared in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. Lord Overlord, I have specially prepared a banquet to welcome you from thousands of miles away. Please do me the honor, Lord Overlord. The Emperor's tone was indescribably excited. Chapter 4378. Dmo Xian's face was grave and stern, his deep eyes were devoid of any thoughts. Your Majesty should be clear about the purpose of this sovereign's visit. Yes, 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 the Emperor immediately replied respectfully. I will definitely do my best to complete the task that the Overlord has entrusted to me. I believe there will be results very soon. Dmo Xian nodded slightly and walked past the Emperor, heading towards another direction. The Emperor quickly stood up and followed respectfully behind Dmo Xian. Along the way, the Emperor was trying to think of a way to strike up a conversation with Dmo Xian. But helplessly, Dmo Xian did not have much ideas and did not bother about him. A group of palace maids followed behind. They had just passed the imperial garden and were about to reach the banquet venue. Suddenly, a sharp voice rang. This princess is so angry. What right does that person have to make this princess pay for the crystals? And that by May, she actually put all the losses on this princess's head. Who does she think she is? There were palace maids trying to persuade her in a low voice. But that sharp voice was obviously infuriated and did not listen to any words at all. She even directly took action and sent all the palace maids flying. This interlude made the Emperor's face sink immediately. His sharp gaze stared fiercely at the Empress. Then he put on a smile and carefully explained. I've let the Overlord see a joke. This princess of mine usually only recites some words from the script. Now she is immersed in her role again. Dmo Xian suddenly paused his footsteps and looked towards the direction where the voice came from. The Emperor's face turned even uglier as he looked at Dmo Xian with even more caution. Overlord, if I have disturbed you, I will, before he could finish his words. At the corner, a figure walked out. That woman was in a mess and looked like she had just gone through a chaotic battle. The beautiful face that could be considered delicate, however, was filled with malevolence and anger. At this corner, both sides bumped into each other. When that woman saw the Emperor, the twisted expression on her face immediately changed. She ran towards the royal father with small steps, opened her mouth and started wailing with grievance. Royal father, Zhu was bullied by that person from the Gu residence. That person from the Gu residence provoked the royal family and even threatened to let the Gu residence rule the heaven domain. Gong Xia Zhu. The Emperor's face was ashen. He wanted nothing more than to strangle this daughter of his. What a coincidence. Just happened to run into his bossy daughter. He shouted harshly and hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. Can't you see that I am receiving an honored guest? If you want to practice your script, find a palace maid to accompany you. Imperial father. Gong Xiazhu had yet to react. Then she saw the Empress winking at her. Only then did she come to a realization. Her gaze followed the Empress' line of sight and landed on the man at the side. Gong Xiazhu's eyes widened. His heart felt like it was about to jump out of his throat. It was just a clash of gazes. Gong Xiazhu felt her legs go soft and weak. Who is that? He was a million times more handsome than her brother Ming. The expression on her face suddenly changed as her eyes were filled with infatuation as she looked at Dmo Xian. What are you waiting for? Take her away. Gong Xiaozhu's actions almost caused the imperial capital to have a heart attack. He felt that his life would be shortened by several years after this. After being reprimanded, the empress hurriedly apologized. After that, he pulled Gong Xiaozhu's arm, asking her to bow down and apologize to Dmo Xian before pulling her along to leave. Chapter 43-79. Stop right there. His deep and cold voice had a hint of coldness in it. Dmo Xian's gaze fell on Gong Xiaozhu. Empress was so scared that her body went soft as she pulled Gong Xiaozhu to kneel on the ground. The emperor's expression was also extremely unsightly. He was both terrified and asked tentatively, Lord Dizun, you are. Dmo Xian raised his hand and stopped emperor. After that, he looked at Gong Xiaozhu and said word by word, you know Bai Mei. Gong Xiaozhu thought that Dmo Xian had stopped her because he had taken a fancy to her beauty. She even met Dmo Xian's gaze and stroked her hair coquettishly. The moment she heard Dmo Xian mention her name, she was stunned. Empress pinched Gong Xiaozhu anxiously, if you know Bai Mei, tell the overlord. Gong Xiaozhu sucked in a breath of cold air in pain as she pursed her lips in grievance. I do know Bai Mei. Bai Mei. The emperor repeated the name in his mind. He finally understood why the overlord suddenly stopped in his tracks. Earlier, Gong Xiaozhu had mentioned Bai Mei's name while she was cursing. And this name, wasn't it the person whom the overlord wanted him to look for in the heaven realm? He had not expected that after searching for so many days, his own daughter actually knew that person called Bai Mei. Emperor immediately said, Xiaozhu, if you know who Bai Mei is, get someone to bring her here. She is the person whom the overlord is looking for. As he spoke, he hinted Gong Xiaozhu with his eyes. As long as Gong Xiaozhu brought Bai Mei here, then she could take the opportunity to let the overlord forgive her for her offense. But Emperor's words had a different meaning in Gong Xiaozhu's ears. The overlord specially came to the heaven realm to look for a woman. Could it be that there was an indescribable relationship between the overlord and Bai Mei? Thinking of this, Gong Xiaozhu's heart was filled with jealousy. Such an outstanding man, much more outstanding than Ren Jianming. His status was distinguished and he was powerful. This kind of man should have chosen such an outstanding woman like her. Thinking of Bai Mei's disgusting side, Gong Xiaozhu's face revealed a disgusted expression. Overlord, I'm afraid you don't know what kind of person Bai Mei is. She's a monster. As she spoke, she purposely rubbed her arms, her whole body shivering. You don't know, that face of hers is completely fake. She was using someone else's face as her own. Actually, she's so ugly that she's disgusting. Xiaozhu. How could the emperor not hear what his daughter was thinking? He warned her sternly to stop her from talking nonsense. Immediately after that, he gave a dry laugh and said to Dmo Xian, Overlord, don't listen to Xiaozhu's nonsense. She might have been lost in the storybook and hasn't walked out from it yet. It's her. Dmo Xian said lightly. The emperor's explanation was stuck in his throat. It's her. The meaning was, the Bai Mei that Gong Xiaozhu mentioned was the person he was looking for. The emperor's mind was in turmoil. But he also knew what he shouldn't ask. He hurriedly bowed and said, We will ask Xiaozhu to bring him here. I can't find her. Gong Xiaozhu didn't expect that the person the overlord was looking for was that ugly freak. She said with some hesitation, after her face was ruined, she went crazy and I don't know where she ran off to. Xiaozhu. The emperor bellowed sternly as his expression turned gloomy. Gong Xiaozhu felt a little wrong from his glare. Usually she's the one who takes the initiative to look for me. I really don't know where she is. Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address, mobile phone reading. Chapter 4380. The Emperor was drenched in cold sweat. Lord Dizun, although Xia Zhu is naughty, she's also very sensible. She really doesn't know where that woman called by Mei is. Dmo Xian's expression did not fluctuate in the slightest, his gaze was as deep as the abyss. He didn't care about the terrified looks on the faces of the people around him. He stared straight at Gong Xiazhu and asked, "Why is she looking for you?" Gong Xiazhu had goosebumps all over her body from that gaze. She shivered and shrank back. Huang hatefully gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Whatever Lord Dizun asks you, just answer." Gong Xiazhu lowered her head, feeling very indignant. She was such an outstanding woman standing in front of him. He only wanted to ask about that ugly monster, by Mei. If he could be a little gentler, she could also consider giving up on Ren Jianming and accept him. However, Gong Xiazhu was still unwilling. Faced with her father's sharp gaze and the aura that was pressing down on her, she hesitated and said reluctantly, "She and I have a common enemy." Gong Xiazhu, who had her head lowered, didn't see that when she said those words, a glint flashed past Dmo Xian's eyes. She continued, "She took the initiative to find me and said that she could help me deal with that bitch from the Gu residence. She could even ally with the Huangfu clan to help me." Dmo Xian, what's the result? He didn't know if it was an illusion. Gong Xiazhu always felt that Dizun's originally majestic and suffocating aura had been slightly restrained. Vaguely, they seemed to see a smile on Dizun's face, which was so magnificent that no one dared to look at it. Gong Xiazhu was stunned again. Only when the Empress pinched her again did she return to her senses. She stammered, in the end, the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion took the young miss of the Gu clan away, and by Mei left, Red Clear Pavilion. Pavilion master. Dmo Xian muttered softly, as his gaze suddenly turned cold. A bone-piercing cold aura instantly spread out. It caused everyone's heart to tremble. Immediately after, she heard Dmo Xian's deep and icy cold voice rang out, "Eldest young miss of the Gu residence, right?" There was a hint of danger in his tone. Gong Xiazhu seemed to have understood something, and a trace of hatred flashed across her eyes. Yes. It was the first young miss of the Gu residence, that fickle woman. Not only did she seduce the second young master of the Ren family, she even seduced the young master of the Huangfu family. After that, when she saw the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion, she used all of her skills to seduce the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion. Only then did she force Bai Mei to leave. If he could borrow the Dizun's hand to kill the first young miss of the Gu clan, he would definitely be able to do so. Even if Bone Lord appeared, he might not be able to stop His Majesty. That slut must die. As expected, the Dizun's face became even colder. The dangerous glint in his eyes was like a cold blade. Gong Xiazhu was scared stiff. But his heart was excited. Overlord. The Emperor suppressed the fear in his heart and glared at Gong Xiazhu. But Gong Xiazhu didn't even look at him. Her face was distorted as she looked at Dmo Xian with an obvious intention. Without waiting for the Emperor to speak, a gust of wind blew over. That shimmering purple figure had already disappeared from everyone's line of sight. In the air, the man's deep and icy cold voice floated down, like a voice from hell demanding for their lives. The matter regarding the Heaven Realm's princess, after this lord has found her. Be prepared to pay the price for this. Icy cold words. It fell into everyone's heart. It was like an icicle, ruthlessly piercing into their hearts. The fastest update speed, hurry up and read it. Download address, mobile phone reading. Chapter 4381. Yiqing Luo pulled back her thoughts from the darkness. When she opened her eyes, there was an intense piercing pain coming from her head. She raised her hand and pressed hard on her head. After she sat up from the bed, she saw a wooden chair was placed by the side of the bed. The man sat on top, leaning against the back of the chair as he closed his eyes to rest. On that cold face, his features seemed as though they were meticulously sculpted. When he closed his eyes, without the usual cold intent, it looked extremely pleasing to the eye. That thick eyelashes, under his squinted eyelids, projected two curved shadows. It made the lines on his face look much gentler. Yiqing Luo also noticed that under the man's brows, there was an obvious greenish black. Apparently, it was the fatigue from not sleeping for a long time. The man was really too tired. So tired that Yiqing Luo had already sat up, but he didn't notice it. Yiqing Luo slowly put down the hand on her head, as her slender brows creased slightly. The memories before she fainted started to recollect in her mind. She had fallen into Zhu Wuxian's trap, which led to her fainting again. Where did Zhu Wuxian bring her to? Why did it feel that? This bunch of powerful people like to kidnap people without any explanation, then secretly bring them to an unfamiliar place. Yiqing Luo lifted the blanket and got off the bed. Her head felt dizzy. Her body was still a little weak. After standing there silently for several breaths, her body gradually got used to it and she felt slightly more comfortable. She clenched her fists as she lowered her eyes to size up her body. She didn't feel any other uncomfortable feeling on her body. Zhu Wuxian didn't do anything to her body after she fainted. After stretching her limbs, Yiqing Luo then sized up the surrounding environment. This was a very spacious bedroom. The furnishings were all of high quality. The style was very simple. Just like Zhu Wuxian, giving off a cold intent. It wasn't hard to tell that this place should be Zhu Wuxian's personal space. She walked one round around the room. She had just reached the other side of the bed, which was the direction where Zhu Wuxian's back was facing. Yiqing Luo suddenly stopped in her tracks. This place was a study table and behind it was a huge bookshelf. What attracted Yiqing Luo was neither the desk nor the bookshelf. Instead, there were paintings hanging on the bookshelves. The painting depicted a woman. Just one look and Yiqing Luo recognized the lady in the painting. It was her. On the desk, on the bookshelf, they were all portraits of her. There was laughter and anger. All kinds of actions and gestures were drawn very vividly. Yiqing Luo was stunned by this scene. These were all drawn by Zhu Wuxian. Why did he draw so many portraits of her? Yiqing Luo had an indescribable feeling in her heart. Should she say that Zhu Wuxian was deeply in love with her? But when she thought of how Zhu Wuxian had drawn so many portraits of her without her knowledge, she could not help but shudder. He felt uncomfortable all over. Then, should he say that Zhu Wuxian was a pervert? However, those scrolls only contained her smile and frown. There was nothing that crossed the line. She slowly walked forward and looked at the scrolls on the bookshelf one by one. His gaze finally fell on the desk. The ink on the painting on the desk was still wet. It should have been drawn not too long ago. It was the picture of her unconscious on the bed. She just stretched out her hand and wanted to pick up that portrait. But her hand touched the inkstone by the side. A paw sound was heard. The thing fell heavily onto the ground. The ink splattered onto the ground, rendering mottled traces. This commotion also woke up the person who was in a deep sleep. Hurry up and read the latest updates. Download address, phone reading. Chapter 4382. Zhu Wuxian's first reaction when he opened his eyes was to look towards the bedside. On discovering that there was no one on the bed, he abruptly stood up as he looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw a young lady standing by the study table. She was staring at the painting of a beauty that he had drawn earlier on the table. That cold and handsome face had a rare shade of red. Zhu Wu Axian. Yiqing Luo wasn't flustered because she had knocked the inkstone over. She slowly raised her head as she met Zhu Wu Axian's face. These are all drawn by you. Zhu Wu Axian stood up as he walked towards Yiqing Luo. Finally, he stopped opposite Yiqing Luo. He lowered his eyes as he looked at the sleeping painting of a beauty on the table. He stretched out his hand, as though he wanted to caress that beauty's sleeping face. But the ink which had yet to dry made him retract his hand. Why did you draw me? Yiqing Luo was so infuriated by Zhu Wuxian's action that she laughed. He had been caught by her secretly drawing her and he was still so calm. And even touched her in the painting right in front of her. This was a perverted man, right? Zhu Wuxian's gaze was still on the young lady in the painting. But the expression on his face was obviously not as cold and hard as before, and had become much gentler. His thin lips were frivolous as it rose into an arc, brimming with youth. Because I like it, so I drew it. She had to admit it. Zhu Wuxian smiled. It really made one's heart flutter. But Yiqing Luo expressed that there wasn't any fluctuation in her heart. Her expression was gloomy and her long and narrow eyes were filled with a piercingly cold glint when she raised her eyes. Your liking is really scary. Zhu Wuxian only laughed lightly as he didn't give any response. The gaze which he used to look at the young lady in the painting became even gentler. Yiqing Luo, this feeling was really weird. Her pink lips pursed as she stretched out her hand and pulled the painting on the table to one side. Zhu Wuxian's expression suddenly changed as he tried to snatch the painting back. Yiqing Luo took 2 steps back as she avoided Zhu Wuxian's outstretched hand. Her brows rose as she looked at him with a smile which didn't look like a smile. I'm right here, what's the point of you staring at the painting? Zhu Wuxian's vision finally shifted from the painting to Yiqing Luo. His dark eyes were very deep, rippling with emotions that ordinary people could not understand. Put the painting down. His voice was very calm, and there was not much emotion in it. Yiqing Luo sneered, Zhu Wuxian, don't you have anything to explain to me? Zhu Wuxian's voice was very indifferent. What's done is done. Even if I explain it, it won't change your opinion of me. What on earth do you want to do? Yiqing Luo slammed the painting in her hands onto the table heavily. The ink, which had not yet dried, blurred that alluring sleeping face because of the wind. Zhu Wuxian looked at the painting, and the ink that had spread out. There seemed to be a storm surging in his eyes. But very quickly, he stopped. His thin lips moved slightly, and he lightly spat out a sentence, I have to draw again. Zhu Wuxian. Yiqing Luo had a powerless feeling as though she had punched into cotton. No matter how she yelled at Zhu Wuxian, how she vented her anger, Zhu Wuxian ignored her. His attention wasn't placed on what she asked at all. Or perhaps, he totally didn't care about these words. Or perhaps, he had already thought of the consequences right from the start when he did this. So he was already mentally prepared. Zhu Wuxian took out that already destroyed painting from Yiqing Luo's palm. His actions were very careful. As though he was handling some kind of treasure. Until the painting paper was taken out. He then slowly held the painting paper in his palm. The fastest update speed, hurry up and read it. TXT download address, cell phone reading. Chapter 4383. Yiqing Luo was unable to describe the strange scene in front of her. A person so cold that the air condensed into frost. He was actually holding a piece of paper that was already mottled with ink. He looked very pious. No matter how he looked at it, it was so strange that it made his hair stand on end. When he held the drawing paper in his hand, he raised his head and looked at Yiqing Luo. After sleeping for 2 days, you should be hungry. I'll go prepare some food for you. With that, he held the drawing paper and was about to leave. Yiqing Luo quickly chased after him. I want to go out. After the meal, I'll walk around the residence with you. Zhu Wuxi nodded. Yiqing Luo replied, you know what I mean. Take a walk around the mansion. Did she have nothing better to do? Zhu Wuxin's gaze was indifferent. Don't even think about leaving this residence. Without my permission, you won't be able to leave. Yiqing Luo replied, how long do you want to keep me locked up for? When you accept me. Zhu Wuxin's tone was very indifferent. Impossible. Yiqing Luo replied without a second thought. Then stay here with me for the rest of your life. Zhu Wuxian's expression was indifferent as his deep eyes gazed at Yiqing Luo with a peculiar gentleness. To be able to stay with you like this for the rest of my life, I'm also willing. Are you crazy? Yiqing Luo's anger was unbearable. Imprisoning me here is because you like me. Zhu Wuxian's expression didn't change. Yiqing Luo, how do you know that you won't fall in love with me if you haven't tried? What do you think I am? Yiqing Luo laughed angrily. I'm a toy that can be controlled by others, right? Do I have to live my life according to what you think I am? What kind of life do you want to give me, and I have to live according to the life you give me? Yiqing Luo sneered. Zhu Wuxian, do you like me or do you like the me that you want to mold? Do you really like him? No matter what Yiqing Luo said or scolded, Zhu Wuxin's expression did not change in the slightest. He quietly listened to Yiqing Luo finish her words. Then, he said calmly, looks like you have a lot of strength. I don't think you need to eat. Coo! His stomach growled in response. This level of coordination made Yiqing Luo want to have a deep conversation with her stomach. Staring at her stomach, Zhu Wuxin slowly turned around and walked out of the room. Yiqing Luo opened her mouth, wanting to call out to Zhu Wuxian. But in the end, he still directly covered his growling stomach and angrily sat on the chair. Zhu Wuxin was completely unmoved. No matter what she said, she was unable to change Zhu Wuxin's mind. What exactly was she going to do to leave this damned place? She couldn't just sit and wait for death. Her sudden disappearance would definitely make Huangfu Sheng and the others anxious. Moreover, she had absolutely no idea where she was right now. There were still 4 days before the ranking list. She had to leave this place before the excellence list was activated. Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with anxiety. Zhu Wuxin had already quickly served a few light dishes to the table. Yiqing Luo took a look at the dishes and took a look at Zhu Wuxian, suppressing her stomach which was tempted by the fragrance. Surely this isn't poisoned again, right? You're in my hands, there's no need for me to hurt you. Zhu Wuxin's pupils flashed past a sliver of hurt, but the tone he used to reply her was extremely indifferent. Yiqing Luo pouted, now, you no longer have any credibility. Zhu Wuxian's pupils contracted slightly. The hand which was hammered by the side of his body also clenched tightly. The update speed is the fastest, hurry up and read it. TXT download address, phone reading. Chapter 4384. There was no credibility left. Oh, that's right. In Yiqing Luo's heart. What else could he have to be trusted? To Yiqing Luo's malicious words. He was just a disgusting person who was infatuated with her. However, it didn't matter. Start with making this decision. He had already thought of the current ending. Yiqing Luo no longer trusted him and did not treat him as a friend. None of that mattered anymore. In any case, she would be by his side. That was enough. Zhu Wuaxian retracted the whirlpool in his eyes as he slowly and unhurriedly placed the dishes in front of Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo didn't even spare him a glance. He took an empty bowl from the side and started to eat by himself. As for the dishes that Zhu Wuxin had prepared, she didn't even look at them out of the corner of her eye. Zhu Wuxin did not show much emotion. He just sat there quietly, waiting for her to eat. Between the two of them, no one spoke first. The silent atmosphere made the surroundings seem extremely oppressive. Yiqing Luo deliberately ate slowly. Zhu Wuxin was also very patient and did not rush him. Just like that, the meal lasted for at least an hour. Yiqing Luo then put down the chopsticks in her hands. "Are you full?" Zhu Wuxin asked. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about him as she slowly stood up and walked towards the door. Zhu Wuxin stood up and followed behind her. "Where do you want to go?" Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at him. "Didn't I say that after the meal, we'll go out for a walk? Are you lying to me again?" Zhu Wuxin's face paled slightly. "No, if you want to go, go. I'll accompany you." "No need." Yiqing Luo rejected without hesitation. "I want to walk alone." Zhu Wuaxian's eyes sunk as he didn't reply Yiqing Luo's words, but his footsteps still followed behind her. Yiqing Luo took a few steps and suddenly stopped. She sneered, her eyes full of mockery. "What? Are you still worried about me in your territory? Didn't you say that as long as you're unwilling, I won't be able to take even half a step out of this mansion? Since you're so confident, why are you following me closely?" "I'm not that," before he could say the word meaning. But he was interrupted by Yiqing Luo's mocking gaze. He retracted his gaze and felt bitter in his heart. That was right, now, he had completely lost the good impression in Yiqing Luo's heart. Even if he explained, how could she believe him? "I don't care what you mean, in short, I don't want to see your face." Yiqing Luo spoke harshly and her words were filled with ridicule. Zhu Wuxin's heart felt like it had been stabbed several times. There was a tearing pain. His breathing was slightly ragged, but he tried his best to keep his voice steady. "Okay." With that, he stopped in his tracks. Yiqing Luo didn't even cast a glance at him as she quickly walked towards the small path in front. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared around the corner. Zhu Wuxin stood quietly on the spot, motionless. His eyes were cold, and so was his expression. The hands hanging at the side of the body curled up one by one. It was as if he was suppressing some kind of emotion in his chest. After a long time, he closed his eyes and raised his head slightly. Obviously, everything she had done had already crossed his bottom line. But he still couldn't bear to kill her. He didn't want to let Yiqing Luo off so easily. Therefore, he could only leave Yiqing Luo by his side. Blame him. Hate him. No, it didn't matter, no matter how Yiqing Luo treated him. Nothing could change the fact that she was by his side. She now only had him. She would only stay by his side. Forever, forever. Latest updates are the fastest to read it. Download address, phone reading. Chapter 4385. On the other side, Yiqing Luo, who had distanced herself from Zhu Wuaxian, took a few steps and specially took a look behind her. She really didn't discover that Zhu Wuaxian was following her. But she didn't know if it was an illusion. She felt an inexplicable chill down her spine. It seemed as though someone was muttering her name. Yiqing Luo rubbed her arms as she sensed the surroundings once again. After ascertaining that there wasn't anyone else's presence in the surroundings, she heaved a sigh of relief. The moment she woke up, the person she saw was Zhu Wuaxian. She really didn't want to see Zhu Wuaxian's face. To think that she trusted him so much. After he was wrong once, twice, she still chose to trust him. But how did Zhu Wuxian repay her? She thought that he kept saying that he liked her and then occasionally appeared to save her. She should forgive him repeatedly for everything. He wasn't Dmo Xian. On what basis did he need her to forgive him? Zhu Wuxian's actions this time was really completely and utterly killing the Zhu Wuxian who had once saved her in her heart. She absolutely could not stay in this place forever. Yiqing Luo perked up her spirits as she started to survey her surroundings, as she drew out the topographic map of the places that she had walked past in her mind. The path that she was walking on should be the direction of the residence's garden. Along the way, there were green trees and flower gardens, ponds and fake mountains. The scenery was extremely beautiful. She walked for a long time but she didn't see anyone. It was as though there was only her and Zhu Wuxian in the entire residence. 2 people. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as a strange brilliance flowed beneath her eyes. Was Zhu Wuxian really so confident that she was unable to leave this residence? All of a sudden, she wanted to find out what method he had used to be so sure that she would not be able to walk out of the mansion. Yiqing Luo raised her head as her gaze looked towards the wall which was not too far away. She speedily surveyed her surroundings. Finally, she found an extremely good spot. A huge ancient tree was planted right next to the wall at the corner of the building. She agilely climbed onto the tree. Standing on a thick and sturdy tree branch, Yiqing Luo looked towards the other side of the wall. The scene in front of her shocked Yiqing Luo. Looking over, they were mountains, and rivers that were connected to each other. This mansion was located in the middle of these mountains and rivers. The most shocking thing was, beside the wall, there seemed to be a layer of ripples. She leaned against the branch and crawled forward, closer to the wall. On all sides of the wall, the rippling water could even reflect her face. Yiqing Luo, since when could water float in the air? Yiqing Luo was just about to reach out and touch it. His sleeve was stopped by a force. The force was very small, but it was enough to tug at her sleeve and pull her back. Yiqing Luo lowered her head and saw Qi Yan, who was biting her sleeve with its sharp beak, flapping its wings hard. Yiqing Luo withdrew her hand and hooked the little fellow in her arms. Where did you run off to? This fellow, relying on its small size and the fact that it could fly in the sky, ran happily, disappearing from time to time. Qi Yan let go of her sleeve and found a comfortable place in her arms. The whole bird collapsed on her. Fortunately, I hid in your sleeve and followed you quietly. Otherwise, you would have been executed on the spot by that man who looks cold on the outside but is a beast on the inside. Yiqing Luo, cold on the outside but a beast on the inside. Was it referring to Zhu Wuxian? Isn't it him? Qi Yan fluttered as it climbed up again, its red eyes opened wide. While you were unconscious, he hugged and touched you. Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address, phone reading. Chapter 4386. Indulging in her beauty. Hug. Touch. Zhu Wuxian's character, he didn't seem like someone who would take advantage of others. Even if he had turned dark. But it wasn't to that extent. Right? Qi Yan's little face creased as all his phoenix feathers wrinkled up. I saw it with my own eyes. He was groping all over your body and grabbing your hand. There was one time when he stared at you and almost kissed you. If it wasn't for the fact that I set the room on fire at the critical moment, you would have betrayed the Overlord. Yiqing Luo. Based on her understanding of Zhu Wuxian. Touching here and there, probably searching for anything on her body that would expose his information. Or perhaps he was researching the reason why her profound grade had disappeared. As for the hand that grabbed her, Yiqing Luo's eyes drooped as she looked at the things on her hand. There were quite a number of things on her hands that made people jealous. A profound phoenix ring, an azure dew ring. And the most important, azure dew bracelet. Zhu Wu Axian grabbed her hand. If he was researching on the profound phoenix ring or god relic, then it was still all right. If he had discovered the azure dew bracelet, then that would be troublesome. Yiqing Luo gently caressed it. The circle of flower petals pattern on her wrist, which looked like a birthmark, didn't look strange at all. Especially after losing the profound grade, the spiritual connection with the azure dew bracelet had been severed. This azure dew bracelet was really just like a very ordinary birthmark. Zhu Wu Axian shouldn't have discovered the azure dew bracelet. And the last one. To kiss her. Yiqing Luo remained silent. Thinking of Zhu Wu Axian's drawing of her all over the room, she was on the verge of turning dark. She felt that perhaps he was really addicted to her beauty, so he couldn't help himself. Yiqing Luo rubbed Qi Yan's little head. Yes, all thanks to you for protecting my chastity. I'll have to trouble you in the future to help me keep an eye on him. This little fellow loved to hear praises for it. Yiqing Luo naturally wouldn't be stingy with her praises. Qi Yan proudly tilted its little head. Yiqing Luo asked again, didn't he discover you when you set fire to the room? No. Qi Yan rolled its eyes. Who am I? I'm one of the 4 holy beasts, the vermilion bird. What flowed in his body was the blood of a noble saint beast. How could he have discovered me? It's good that you didn't find him. If he had, Zhu Wuxin wouldn't have let Qi Yan wander around the mansion. After all, Zhu Wuxin would not allow any help that could allow her to escape from the mansion. Even if Scarlet Flame hasn't recovered his original strength. But it was also a helping hand for her. Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at the front again, at the endless mountains and rivers. Can you walk out of this residence? I can't. Qi Yan answered decisively, there is a boundary outside this mansion. As soon as I get close, I will be discovered by the person who set up the boundary. It looked like Zhu Wuxin had made up his mind to keep her in the mansion. Yiqing Luo leaned back on the tree branch. Then how should we get out? Getting out. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult. Qi Yan flapped its wings. These 2 days when you were unconscious, I specially walked 1 round around this godforsaken place. The land area here is especially wide and there are numerous courtyards, as well as gardens and martial arts halls, etc. At least, it's not any worse off than the imperial palace which I had seen previously. Moreover, other than the 2 of you, there are only 2 young ladies who look at most 12 or 13 years old, working as maids here. Such a huge mansion and there were only 2 maids. End of this chapter. Chapter 4387. Looking at the scenery, you want to interfere? Those 2 maids don't know how to speak, like puppets without souls. Qi Yan told Yiqing Luo everything that he had investigated these 2 days. Following that, he arrogantly raised his slender neck, waiting for Yiqing Luo's praise. His red eyes were filled with complacency. Yiqing Luo naturally cooperated as she rubbed the little fellow's head and smiled. You're indeed my little Qi Yan, so smart. She hugged the little fellow into her arms. Beautifully done, continue to work hard next time, I'm looking forward to your good news. Qi Yan smiled as his red beast eyes squinted as he snorted, wait for this sacred beast to save you, this sacred beast will bring you along to fly, remember to think of how to thank this sacred beast. Alright, she would praise him a little. The entire beast was floating. Just at this moment, Yiqing Luo's ears moved sensitively. Something was brushing past the grass. Yiqing Luo's heart tightened as she speedily pressed the little thing into her sleeves. Coincidentally, a cold voice rang in his ears, what are you doing up there? Zhu Wu Axian rode on the wind as he stood under the tree, looking up at her. A blazing robe fluttered along with the wind. It looked extremely elegant. Yiqing Luo closed her eyes and didn't even move as she scoffed, "Obviously, I'm looking at the scenery." Zhu Wu Axian frowned. This ancient tree was connected to the surrounding wall. Yiqing Luo sat on the tree branch and could easily see through the wall to see what was happening outside. Was she trying to escape? "Master Zhu, don't tell me. I'm just looking at the scenery, you want to interfere?" The young lady's clear voice was mixed with some ridicule as it rang again. He blinked his eyes. The light returned back. He saw a young lady lying on top of that ancient tree. Her blazing red robe drooped down. When the breeze brushed past, her robe fluttered, like an excited flame. Her unbound black hair cascaded down, merging with the color of the raging flames. It made the young lady look like a fairy in the fire. When she said that, she specially glanced sideways. Her beautiful face exuded a suffocating charm. For a moment, Zhu Wu Axian was stunned. Dong! There was a soft sound. The girl jumped down from the ancient tree. He stood in front of Zhu Wuxin. That sound also startled Zhu Wuxin back to his senses. Seeing that the girl was already in front of him, his eyes flashed a trace of imperceptible panic. "Your profound rank hasn't recovered yet, jumping from such a high place, what if you get hurt?" He reached out to hold the girl's arm. The girl walked past him and continued forward. She also avoided his outstretched hand. Zhu Wu Axian took a look at his hand, which was frozen in mid-air as his fingers clenched into a fist shape, retracting his hand as he followed closely behind Yiqing Luo. He had only taken a few steps. Yiqing Luo's footsteps suddenly halted. Her hand seemed to have been pricked by something, and she jerked back. "What's the matter?" Zhu Wu Axian saw Yiqing Luo's actions and immediately went up to check on her condition. Yiqing Luo lowered her head to look at her own hand and struggled free from his grasp. "I'm fine." "Your expression doesn't look like you're fine." Zhu Wu Axian insisted on not letting go. "Stop fooling around, let me take a look." Yiqing Luo pushed him away forcefully as her breathing became hurried. She took a few steps back. Her body leaned against that ancient tree earlier. "I said I'm fine, don't come over." Zhu Wu Axian had no choice but to halt his footsteps as his vision fell onto her without blinking, his eyes filled with concern. "All right, I won't go over." Update completed. Mwah. Zo Mo, come. Put up your sabers. I'm not afraid of your sabers. I, Mo Batian, have never been afraid of anyone. Mo family, hee, the sabers can't do anything to you. Sisters, confiscate our Batian tickets. Zo Mo, I admit defeat. You're the real treasure Batian. Asking for tickets, don't stop, don't stop. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address, phone reading. Chapter 4388. Yiqing Luo leaned against the ancient tree. This time, she deeply felt. A scorching hot shiver came from her fingertips. It was the profound phoenix ring. The profound phoenix ring's activity. This also indicated that Xian, he had reached the heaven realm. And the distance between them wasn't far. Most importantly, under the situation where she didn't have any profound energy, the profound phoenix ring could still sense Xian. Yiqing Luo couldn't suppress the excitement in her heart. But, facing Zhu Wu Axian, she couldn't show any signs of it. Moreover, it seemed that the moment she left the boundary of this ancient tree, the scorching sensation on her fingertips would disappear. Which meant to say, the connection with the profound dragon ring was the strongest here. Yiqing Luo didn't have any profound energy, so she couldn't use her mental energy to sense where the profound dragon ring was. But she could sense it. Which meant that Dmo Xian, who was wearing the profound dragon ring, could sense it. She had to delay for a period of time here. To fight for more time for Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo's heart was surging with various emotions. But on the surface, she didn't show any of it because of Zhu Wuaxian. She raised her head slightly and met Zhu Wuaxian's concerned eyes as her lips curled into a smile, filled with a thick sense of ridicule. You really treat me as a prisoner. No matter where I go, I have to be in your line of sight. Zhu Wuaxian's lips moved as he wanted to say something. But when the words reached the tip of his tongue, he swallowed it back. Yiqing Luo sneered as she shot a cold glance at Zhu Wuaxian. She and Zhu Wuaxian had separated for at most 2 incenses time. Zhu Wuaxian came looking for her. Was it because he couldn't give her too much alone time? Or was it because she touched the barrier and attracted Zhu Wuaxian's attention? Or perhaps Zhu Wuaxian knew that Dmo Xian had come to the heaven realm and was searching for her whereabouts. So he panicked, anxiously looking for her, wanting to ascertain if she was still around. Yiqing Luo indicated that it was most likely the third guess. She squinted her eyes slightly as a cold glint flashed across her long and narrow eyes. The words that came out of his mouth were still so harsh. I said, I just want to be alone. I don't want to see your face. You just woke up, and your body is still very weak. Zhu Wuxin's voice softened. Go back to your room and rest first. Don't be exposed to the wind for too long. I know my own body. Yiqing Luo raised her head slightly. I know that there's an enchantment set up outside your residence and I'm someone without any profound energy, so there's no way for me to pass through your enchantment, so you don't need to worry about me leaving. As she spoke, the mockery in her eyes intensified. Zhu Wuaxian's brows creased tightly as his grave and stern face was filled with helplessness. I'm only concerned about you. Yiqing Luo, can you not use such words to stab me? Yiqing Luo sneered, from the moment you schemed against me, haven't you already expected that there would be such an outcome? If you don't want to listen to me, then let me out. Impossible. Zhu Wuxin's expression darkened. Don't even think about leaving this place. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips, since you don't intend to let me leave this place, and I have no way to break the enchantment, then let me enjoy the scenery here alone. Zhu Wuaxian's expression turned even more solemn. Yiqing Luo, I don't want to do anything that makes you hate me, so don't force me. Yiqing Luo laughed when she heard that. Could it be that the things that he did were all forced by her? Could it be that he had betrayed her trust, and was also forced by her? Did it need to be so comical? She had almost believed this excuse. Okay. Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address, phone reading. Chapter 4389. The disdain and ridicule on Yiqing Luo's face was totally unconcealed. In Zhu Wuxin's black eyes, there seemed to be some raging waves surging unceasingly. All of a sudden, he moved. His figure appeared in front of Yiqing Luo. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Yiqing Luo's arm. That hand was the hand which was wearing the profound phoenix ring. Yiqing Luo's expression instantly tensed up. He found out. Yiqing Luo's mind was whirling as she was thinking of ways to cover up this matter, to fight for more time for Xian. But at the next moment, Zhu Wuaxian's hand suddenly increased the strength. Her entire body fell heavily into Zhu Wuaxian's firm chest. His arm pressed down on her with extreme force, making her unable to move at all. A faint plum fragrance invaded all her senses. She wanted to struggle. But in exchange, the man hugged her even more tightly. She almost couldn't breathe. You hate me that much? Zhu Wuxian's hoarse voice was filled with bitterness. He spoke word by word, as though he was venting the anger in his chest. Not waiting for Yiqing Luo's reply, he pressed the person in his arms tightly as he gritted his teeth. Even if you hate me, I will not let go of you. Yiqing Luo expressed that she was almost out of breath. At the same time as she struggled, she heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, Zhu Wuxian hadn't discovered that she and Dmo Xian had already contacted each other. But now was indeed not the time to stay here any longer. Based on Zhu Wuxian's acute character, if she continued to stay, it might possibly arouse his suspicions. Yiqing Luo hid the deep thoughts in her eyes as she pushed the person in front of her and struggled to break free from his hand. Are you trying to suffocate me to death? This roar was a little muffled. Zhu Wuxian seemed to have regained a trace of rationality from his crazed state. His eyes, which were as dark as a lake, seemed to be gathering light, and they shrunk little by little. This strange look made Yiqing Luo have an inexplicable strange feeling. Zhu Wuxian's hand, which was placed on Yiqing Luo's shoulder, was still trembling slightly. He looked at the girl in his arms, whose face was flushed red and filled with displeasure. The vortexes in his eyes grew increasingly ferocious. Suddenly, he clasped Yiqing Luo's wrist tightly, pulling her along as he took quick steps towards the courtyard which she had stayed in previously. This time round, Yiqing Luo didn't create any trouble. Instead, he cooperated and followed behind Zhu Wuxin. When Zhu Wuxin turned around, she quickly hid Qi Yan in the flower bed on the side. Perhaps Zhu Wuxin's emotions were unstable at the moment. He did not notice Yiqing Luo's little movements. Along the way, he was about 5 steps away from the ancient tree. The burning sensation coming from the profound phoenix ring on his fingertip gradually subsided. The connection was completely broken. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes and stared at the profound phoenix ring, which had returned to normal as she pursed her lips slightly. Her slender fingers clenched a little tighter. I have to find another opportunity to come here and give it a try. Just now, Xian should have been able to determine her location. She was thinking about the profound phoenix ring and Dmo Xian. She totally didn't notice it. That man who was walking in front and tugging her arm had such a strange expression on his face. Sometimes his expression was grave and stern, but it was filled with pain. Sometimes his expression was twisted, as though he was struggling with something. That pair of serene black eyes had a strange glint, which kept darting about, as though it wanted to devour the man's everything. The two of them had different thoughts in their minds. In this strange silence, they returned to their original room. Hurry up and read the latest updates. Download address, cell phone reading. Chapter 4390. The room had already been tidied up. Those portraits of Yiqing Luo on the bookshelf had all been kept away. Even the inkstone that she had knocked over and the ink splattered all over the floor had been cleaned up. Not a single blemish could be seen. Standing at the door, Yiqing Luo struggled to break free from his clamping hands. This time, Zhu Wuxian let go very quickly. After she broke free, Yiqing Luo stood at the original spot as she looked at him calmly. Since you want me to stay here, then prepare a room for me. Zhu Wuxian, you stay here. I refuse. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with ridicule. I stay next door. Zhu Wuxian explained. I still refuse. Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings. This room is filled with your scent. I don't want my body to be tainted with another man's scent. She paused as her vision swept past the study table. Moreover, a room for someone who harbors ill intentions towards me. It's scary for me to stay there. Zhu Wuxian's cold face moved slightly. His eyes were gloomy as he stared at Yiqing Luo without blinking, as though he was covered in frost. Yiqing Luo remained unmoved. Instead she met his gaze and looked at him calmly. After a long time, Zhu Wuxian turned around and walked out of the room. His silhouette looked very cold and fierce. Yiqing Luo looked at Zhu Wuxian's departing back view. She had no intention to stop him. She walked into the inner hall and sat down by the side. Her fingers caressed the profound phoenix ring. Ah Xian. When there was no news of Ah Xian, she could still suppress the longing for Ah Xian in her heart. But, after sensing Ah Xian's presence, she really was unable to suppress the longing in her heart. Missed him so much, missed him so much. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers held the profound phoenix ring tightly. Heaven Realm, Tianya Ridge's entrance. A group of people stood there as pairs of gazes congealed on the man in front. The man's back was facing them and he was as handsome as a god. His peerless face was filled with a grave expression. That pair of cold peach blossom eyes were swirling with a whirlpool. A strong gust of wind blew heavily against his purple robe. The profound wave's attack made his robe flutter. Broken. The man murmured in a low voice as he stared unblinkingly at the ring engraved with a dragon totem on his finger. Lord Dizun, what's broken? A group of people behind him immediately asked. If Yiqing Luo was here at this moment, he would definitely be surprised. Those brothers who had climbed up to the Earth domain with great difficulty and had yet to catch up with her had actually appeared in the Heaven domain. That group of people, aren't they? Those few people from the World Mercenary Group. Dmo Xian's thin lips were tightly pursed, as his eyes seemed to be surging with perilous waves. The connection with Lil Luo, has been broken. Just now, the few of them followed Zhu Wuxian's last traces and rushed to World Horizon Ridge to search for Yiqing Luo. Dmo Xian had been operating the Netherworld Dragon Ring. It was the moment they arrived at the Tianya Ridge. The Netherworld Dragon Ring reacted. It was as though Lil Luo was by his side. When he wanted to use the profound dragon ring to get in touch with Yiqing Luo. But all he got was a blank space. There was no response. It could sense the profound phoenix ring. But he didn't get any response from the profound phoenix ring's owner. This made Dmo Xian's heart felt as though there was a huge rock pressing on it. Whoever knew that just as he wanted to use the profound dragon ring to locate Yiqing Luo's exact location, the connection between the dragon and phoenix rings was suddenly cut off. Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address, cell phone reading. Chapter 4391. Huangfu Xing's face turned pale. What happened to Ah Luo? What did that mean? Dmo Xian's expression was solemn and cold as his eyes stared fixedly at the Netherworld Dragon Ring. I don't know, but the only thing I can confirm is that Lil Luo should have been here before. Zhu Wuxian, that scoundrel, why did he bring Qing Luo to this kind of ghastly place for? Yan Xiaoyi looked around at the terrifying dense forest as her face was filled with worry. Tianya Ridge was the most dangerous place in the Heaven Realm. Basically, no one in the entire Heaven Realm would take things too hard and run over to Tianya Mountain Range to train. At most, it was used to punish clan members who had made mistakes. It could be said that in the entire Heaven Realm, throwing someone into the Tianya Ridge was the cruelest punishment. On the way to the Tianya Ridge, Huangfu Xing told Yan Xiaoyi and the others about the legend of Tianya Ridge. Dmo Xian's deep and cold eyes looked at the group of people behind him as his voice was deep and cold. This lord will go in first, all of you wait outside. Let's go together as well. Xiao Jin hurriedly said. Little Jin, we're just dragging the ham if we go in. If we delay the overlord from saving little Qing Luo, we'll die very, very miserably. An arm circled around Xiao Jin's shoulder. Zhou Mo, who had a devilish look on his face, hung limply on Xiao Jin's body. Xiao Jin hesitated. But, believe in the Overlord, he cares about little Qing Luo more than anyone else here. Zhou Mo's red phoenix eyes curved. He shot a glance in the direction of Gue Wu. Ah Wu, are you staying behind or going in? I'm waiting for someone. Gue Wu indifferently replied. Waiting for someone. Zhou Mo looked suspiciously from Xiao Jin's body to Gue Wu's. Waiting for who? Other than me, who else can you wait for? Gue Wu did not even look at him, nor did he have any intention of replying. The others didn't want to pay attention to this playful fox either. All of them looked at Dmo Xian, hoping to find out about Yi Qing Luo's news from his mouth. Brother-in-law, Di Zun. Is sister really inside? Kitty Lee asked cautiously. She had signed a blood contract with her sister. However, she couldn't sense her sister's aura at all. It was as if the connection between her and her sister had been cut off. Dmo Xian's stern face was wrapped in a thin layer of frost. This lord cannot be certain. Kitty Lee's little claws immediately clenched together. The two little ears on his head couldn't help but stand up. Dmo Xian's gaze looked towards the boundless dense forest ahead. The surrounding vines were like man-eating plants, filled with a strange aura. He ignored the people behind him and walked straight into the horizon ridge. The group of people behind him wanted to follow. But at the entrance of the Tianya Ridge, however, he still stopped in his tracks. Qing Luo will be fine, right? Yan Xiaoyi nestled in Xiao Jin's arms as she lowered her head, her eyes filled with anxiety. Xiao Jin comforted him in a low voice, I believe in Di Zun's judgment. It's already not easy for us to come to the heaven realm. If we follow them into the Tianya mountain range, there will be danger everywhere. No one knows what will happen. Let's wait here for the Overlord to bring Qing Luo back. Everything. I'll leave it to Lord Di Zun. Yi Qing Luo sat in the room for a short period of time. She heard a commotion outside the door. She didn't even raise her head as her voice was cold. Zhu Wu Axan, either change my room or let me out. The fastest update speed, hurry up and read it. TXT download address, phone reading. Chapter 4392. Huangfu Xing's face turned pale. What happened to Ah Luo? What did that mean? Dmo Xian's expression was solemn and cold as his eyes stared fixedly at the netherworld dragon ring. I don't know, but the only thing I can confirm is that Lil Luo should have been here before. Zhu Wu Axan, that scoundrel, why did he bring Qing Luo to this kind of ghastly place for? Yan Xiaoyi looked around at the terrifying dense forest as her face was filled with worry. Tianya Ridge was the most dangerous place in the Heaven Realm. Basically, no one in the entire Heaven Realm would take things too hard and run over to Tianya Mountain Range to train. At most, it was used to punish clan members who had made mistakes. It could be said that in the entire Heaven Realm, throwing someone into the Tianya Ridge was the cruelest punishment. On the way to the Tianya Ridge, Huangfu Xing told Yan Xiaoyi and the others about the legend of Tianya Ridge. Dmo Xian's deep and cold eyes looked at the group of people behind him as his voice was deep and cold. This lord will go in first, all of you wait outside. Let's go together as well. Xiao Jin hurriedly said. Little Jin, we're just dragging the ham if we go in. If we delay the Overlord from saving little Qing Luo, we'll die very, very miserably. An arm circled around Xiao Jin's shoulder. Zhou Mo, who had a devilish look on his face, hung limply on Xiao Jin's body. Xiao Jin hesitated. But, believe in the Overlord, he cares about little Qing Luo more than anyone else here. Zhou Mo's red phoenix eyes curved. He shot a glance in the direction of Gue Wu. "Ah, Wu, are you staying behind or going in?" "I'm waiting for someone." Gue Wu indifferently replied. "Waiting for someone?" Zhou Mo looked suspiciously from Qiao Jin's body to Gue Wu's. "Waiting for who? Other than me, who else can you wait for?" Gue Wu did not even look at him, nor did he have any intention of replying. The others didn't want to pay attention to this playful fox either. All of them looked at Dmo Xian, hoping to find out about Yiqing Luo's news from his mouth. "Brother-in-law, Di Zun. Is sister really inside?" Kitty Li asked cautiously. She had signed a blood contract with her sister. However, she couldn't sense her sister's aura at all. It was as if the connection between her and her sister had been cut off. Dmo Xian's stern face was wrapped in a thin layer of frost. "This lord cannot be certain." Kitty Li's little claws immediately clenched together. The two little ears on his head couldn't help but stand up. Dmo Xian's gaze looked towards the boundless dense forest ahead. The surrounding vines were like man-eating plants, filled with a strange aura. He ignored the people behind him and walked straight into the horizon ridge. The group of people behind him wanted to follow. But at the entrance of the Tianya Ridge, however, he still stopped in his tracks. "Qing Luo will be fine, right?" Yan Xiaoyi nestled in Qiao Jin's arms as she lowered her head, her eyes filled with anxiety. Qiao Jin comforted him in a low voice. "I believe in Di Zun's judgment. It's already not easy for us to come to the heaven realm. If we follow them into the Tianya mountain range, there will be danger everywhere. No one knows what will happen. Let's wait here for the Overlord to bring Qing Luo back. Everything. I'll leave it to Lord Di Zun." Yiqing Luo sat in the room for a short period of time. She heard a commotion outside the door. Chapter 4393. For this kind of newbie who had just received part of the training and had yet to serve their master, their thoughts were mostly the cleanest. Especially for a young girl who didn't even know how to speak. It was even more convenient. But although the young girl didn't know how to speak, but her expressions were very rich. Whatever Yiqing Luo asked, she was able to use her expressions to answer a part of it. Yiqing Luo could more or less decipher a rough idea. For example, they were suddenly brought to this residence by Zhu Wu Axian 3 days ago. Zhu Wu Axian only instructed them to serve the lady in the residence, which was Yiqing Luo. But this was also the first time they met her. 3 days ago. Yiqing Luo remembered that she should have been unconscious for 2 days. Which meant that she was brought to this residence 2 days ago. Which meant that, right from the start, Zhu Wu Axian had planned to imprison her here. She scoffed lightly as her brows were filled with cold ridicule. He had indeed planned it well. Yiqing Luo laughed coldly. The young girl who was leading the way revealed some fear on her face when she heard her laughter. As though she didn't understand which sentence she had said wrongly. Yiqing Luo. Did she look like a cruel person to him? Why was this young lady so easily frightened by her? "Where are you bringing me to?" She changed the topic. They walked for about half an incense's time. They had already walked past a courtyard. He turned into another courtyard. The young lady had no intention of stopping. What trick was Zhu Wu Axian trying to play? After walking for a while more, the young girl stopped at the door of a room and made a gesture towards her. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she looked at the room in front of her. She stretched out her hand and directly pushed open the door. What entered her eyes was an extremely luxurious ladies' room. It was separated into 2 rooms. The outer hall was clean and tidy, and the things displayed were all things which ladies loved. But it was exquisite and luxurious everywhere. Yiqing Luo could tell with just one look. This room was so clean that there was no trace of anyone staying in it. This was the room which Zhu Wuaxian prepared for her. The young girl bowed towards her and used her hand gestures to express her meaning, which probably meant that this courtyard was her place. This room was her lady's room. Following that, he took out a bell from his bosom and respectfully handed it over to Yiqing Luo. He hinted to her that if she needed them for anything, she could ring the bell and they would rush over. After explaining these things, the little girl retreated. His speed was so fast that he looked like he was fleeing for his life. Yiqing Luo took a look at the bell in her hand as a sharp glint flashed past her eyes. She casually tossed the bell into the air. As the bell fell, the gourd flame fan in his hand opened up, turning into a biting cold energy. Kacha! The bell broke into two halves. A wisp of extremely faint profound wave overflowed from the bell. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as she stared at that overflowing profound wave, disappearing into the air. She sneered coldly and twitched the corner of her lips. She couldn't hide the mockery in her eyes. You want to trick me with this little trick? Did Zhu Wuxin think that he could lower her guard against a little girl who didn't know how to speak? But, did he forget? For her, everything about him was worthy of her suspicion. This was his territory. The young girl belonged to him. How could she possibly believe him? Yiqing Luo didn't even take a look at the bell which had broken into two halves as she turned around and walked into the room, closing the door. In a room in the neighboring courtyard. It was so dark that one couldn't see anything in the room when suddenly a sound of something breaking was heard. End of this chapter. Chapter 4394. Romance Website. Trash 7th Missy, Overlord, be gentle with your love, latest chapter. Yo, you're trying to spy on someone but got discovered. A lazy voice was particularly clear in the pitch-black room. Following that voice, the room was gradually lit up with candlelight, lighting up the surroundings. A tall and handsome figure slowly walked to the side of the desk. The man was dressed in a bamboo-colored long robe, which hung loosely on his body, revealing a large area of skin. His long hair was not tied up as it hung loosely on his shoulders. His entire person was lazy and carefree. Both his hands were propped on the study table. In front of him was a bronze mirror. On the bronze mirror, there were numerous cracks. What are you here for? The man in front of the study table had an icy cold expression as he shifted his gaze away from the bronze mirror. To see you chase after a young lady. The lazy man pulled a chair over and sat down on the other side of the study table. As his loose robe fluttered, his naked long legs were faintly discernible. Zhu Wuaxian took a glance and his expression turned uglier. Scram. The lazy man lowered his eyes as he looked at his fair thighs and pulled the loose robe over to cover it. I'm not here to seduce you, why are you reacting so strongly for? Could it be that you have a reaction towards the sexy me? Green veins popped out on Zhu Wuaxian's forehead. Scram yourself, or do I have to beat you out? Ha ha ha. The lazy man looked at Zhu Wuaxian's raging look with satisfaction as he maintained a lazy expression. I haven't seen your angry face for a long time, I miss it so much. After listening to this sentence, Zhu Wuaxian's expression stiffened and after some time, he slowly retracted all the emotions on his face. It turned back into a cold expressionless expression. He pursed his lips as he looked coldly at the man's face. Why didn't you stay in your upper profound hole? Why did you run over to the heaven realm? Upper profound hole. If Yiqing Luo was present, she would definitely recognize him. This lazy and carefree man, wasn't he the Nirvana realm's heavenly academy, the hidden upper profound hole? Hall Master. You can come, why can't I? The Hall Master smiled as he replied. Zhu Wuaxian glanced at him. The palace master shrugged his shoulders and raised his hands in surrender. I'm just here to see how far you've gone in your pursuit of the lady and whether you need my help. What kind of rotten ideas did you come up with? At the mention of this, Zhu Wuxin's gaze became even colder. He abruptly reached out and grabbed the temple master's collar. What nonsense are you saying that you can move a woman's heart by being gentler and saying more sweet nothings? That's utter nonsense. Yes. His skill in flirting and flirting with girls was very strong. It was all taught by this Ascendant Hall master of the Ascendant Hall. The palace master shrugged his shoulders and said helplessly, "Don't you know very well how difficult the lady you've taken a fancy to is?" Zhu Wuxin's expression stiffened. Moreover, it's not like you don't know that she is dead set on that person. The palace master continued, "It would have been fine if you wanted a virgin, but you just had to want a woman whose heart already belonged to someone." Zhu Wuxin's hand that was grabbing his collar also froze. Then, his fingers released the temple master one by one. His hands clenched into fists as he sat back on the chair. The palace master looked at the ugly expression on Zhu Wuxin's face and wanted to say something, but in the end, it turned into a helpless sigh. You reap what you sow. I'm so unlucky to have a brother like you." He picked up that cracked bronze mirror on the table. The moment he touched it, the broken pieces of the bronze mirror all fell onto the table. "Brother, your action of trying to spy on her but being discovered by her, it's hard not to save her." Chapter 4395. The bell was the medium to monitor Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo had cut the bell into two halves, thus breaking the connection between the bell and the bronze mirror. Zhu Wuaxian's fist, which was placed on the table, clenched even tighter. The green veins on his palm could be seen faintly. Hall Master's gaze swept past his face. "You really intend to imprison her for life?" Zhu Wuaxian's eyes flickered, dark and deep, this time. "No one can think of taking her away from my identity." Hall Master's pupils shrunk slightly. But that handsome and lazy face didn't have much emotion. He lazily leaned against the back of the chair as he squinted his eyes and spoke in disdain. "Previously, when you brought her to my place, I advised you to take the opportunity to eat her up. She has become your woman, so are you still afraid that she will leave you? But you insisted on waiting for her to be willing before you touch her. Look at you now. Don't talk about touching her. Even if you want to get close to her, you will probably be despised to death." Zhu Wuaxian glanced at him coldly. "Do you think everyone is like you? But what you're doing now is no different from eating her up." Hall Master didn't think much of it, but his words hit the nail on the head. "Do you think that not touching her is the greatest respect for her and you will be able to maintain a friendly relationship with her on the surface? But have you forgotten? That lady's wild nature is hard to tame. You've lied to her once or twice and imprisoned her here. Do you think she will still treat you as a friend?" Zhu Wuaxian's eyes instantly congealed as the expression on his face turned steely green. "Don't stare at me, I'm speaking the truth." Hall Master raised his hand and blocked Zhu Wuaxian's icy cold vision. "Since things have already come to this, you might as well sleep with her now." Zhu Wuaxian's eyes turned colder and colder. Like a 10,000-year-old frost mountain, it enveloped everything in the surroundings. Hall Master shrunk backwards but still braced himself and said, "Everyone says that women wear pajamas. You use a man's ability to conquer her, so that she can't leave you." Zhu Wuaxian's eyes stared at Hall Master without blinking. Hall Master blinked his eyes. The two of them exchanged glances. The room was silent. The Temple Master blinked again and nodded at him. "Trust me, this is the ultimate technique for chasing girls." A subtle change flashed through Zhu Wuxin's eyes. Yiqing Luo checked the room, which no one had ever stayed in from the beginning to the end. He confirmed that there was no sign of Zhu Wuxin's aura. He found a chair and sat down. He didn't know what was wrong with Zhu Wuxin. After changing her room, and even tried to monitor her movements in the room. If not for the fact that he knew that Zhu Wuxin wasn't that kind of person, with filthy thoughts, he wouldn't have believed it. She almost suspected that Zhu Wuxin was really possessed by a pervert. She lowered her eyes and looked at the ring engraved with a phoenix on her finger. She sighed softly. Zhu Wuxin was becoming more and more abnormal. She had to quickly think of a way to leave this place. The profound phoenix ring had sensed it the last time he was at that ancient tree. She had to go to the ancient tree again. Just as he was thinking, Yiqing Luo suddenly felt a scorching sensation on her fingertips. His fingers seemed to have been pricked by something. It was the same feeling as when she was at the ancient tree. Her eyes shone as she speedily raised her hand and her fingertips touched the Ming mirror as she excitedly asked in a probing tone, "Xian, is that you?" Her voice was filled with cautiousness and anticipation. But she was afraid that she would be disappointed. Chapter 4396. But there was no response from the profound phoenix ring. Yiqing Luo didn't give up as she pursed her lips and called out again, "Ah Xian. Ah Xian." The air was still deathly silent. Yiqing Luo's heart felt as though it had fallen from the clouds into the abyss. No response from Ah Xian. Still no response from Ah Xian. She squeezed her eyes shut. Her arms hung limply by her side. Was she disappointed? Of course she was disappointed. She missed Ah Xian so much that she was going crazy. The profound phoenix ring on her fingertips was still burning and the vibration was still stimulating her senses. She didn't move, allowing the profound phoenix ring to release its energy. Just at this moment, like an electric current, an intermittent voice rang in her ears, "Little Luo, that voice sounded like a phone call with a bad signal. It was intermittent and mixed with electricity. But, even so, Yiqing Luo still heard that voice and the words that were spat out. Her body suddenly tensed up. His eyes, which had been closed, quickly opened. Her eyes looked at the profound phoenix ring in disbelief. That originally dead heart in his chest suddenly began to beat vigorously, as though it was going to jump out from her throat. She raised her hand in front of her and stared at the profound phoenix ring. Her eyes slowly turned red. "Ah Xian, little Luo, The voice gradually became clearer. The man's deep and magnetic voice entered Yiqing Luo's ears. Like a soft feather, it spread out in her heart, little by little, causing ripples to appear. Yiqing Luo's heart tightened. Her pink lips gradually curved into a beautiful smile. "Ah Xian." Her fingers gently touched the profound phoenix ring, as though it was caressing the man's face. Her voice revealed a slight tremble, "Xian. Ah Xian." Her longing for Dmo Xian. At this moment, it was uncontrollably pouring out. She kept calling out Dmo Xian's name, as though she wanted to shout out all her longing for this period of time. "Lil Luo, are you alright?" Dmo Xian's voice was suppressing the joy and agitation. His first question was to ascertain if Yiqing Luo was alright. Yiqing Luo's throat seemed to be blocked by something as her eyes reddened tightly. Her little hands were tightly clenched into fists, trying to suppress her current emotions. "Lil Luo, did he do something to you?" After not hearing Yiqing Luo's reply for a long time, the man's voice turned taut. His tone was also slightly anxious. Yiqing Luo hurriedly replied, No, I'm fine. As soon as she spoke, choking sounds came out from her lips uncontrollably. He could no longer restrain himself. Yi Qing Luo simply didn't conceal it as she sniffled and spoke with a sobbing tone. Ah Xian, I miss you. Dmo Xian's heart wrenched at this moment. His heart ached. Lil Luo, wait for me. I will come and pick you up immediately. Pick her up immediately. Hearing this sentence, Yi Qing Luo's agitated heart slowly regained some rationality. She forcefully wiped her eyes, suppressing the sourness that welled up in her eyes. The connection between the profound Phoenix Ring and profound Dragon Ring could not cross the boundary. Previously, when they were in the ancient tree, they were able to confirm that Dmo Xian had reached the heaven realm. But now, through the two rings, they communicated. This meant that Dmo Xian was currently in the vicinity of this residence. Or perhaps, he had already infiltrated this residence. Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address, phone reading. Chapter 4397. This knowledge made Yi Qing Luo's heart skip a beat. Xian, where are you now? Do you miss me so much? The man's clear voice had a hint of a smile. Like the warm sunshine, dispelling all the coldness in Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo's heart was melted and her eyes turned red again. She pursed her lips and suppressed her emotions. I miss you very much. But I don't want you to take risks for me. She tried hard to calm herself down and continued, Ah Xian, I'm fine here, he only restricted my freedom, but didn't hurt me. Don't be impulsive, I will wait here for you to pick me up, but you have to promise me, all your actions must be 80%, no, 90% and above, before you can take action. Dmo Xian laughed lowly. Hua Yan's low and hoarse voice seemed to overflow from the depths of his throat. In this silent room, inexplicably, a layer of faint ambiguity was emitted. He was using his voice to tease her heartstrings. The young lady's cheeks were flushed, her charming eyes were watery and beautiful, she pinched her fingertips and pouted, I'm serious. Believe that I can protect myself and not let you worry, you can't let me worry too. Sho. The man hushed her. That one syllable. It almost made Yi Qing Luo's legs soften. She really missed him too much. That was why she could only hear his voice and couldn't control her feelings. Dmo Xian's voice became more gentle, be good, don't talk about these, I want to hear you say. You miss me. Dmo Xian. Yi Qing Luo was so angry that she laughed. It was already at this time. He still had the mood to joke. Dmo Xian guessed the young lady's thoughts and laughed lightly, I'm not joking. He paused, and his voice also revealed a few traces of Keely and Toomey. I just missed you. That clear voice was slightly hoarse. It made Yi Qing Luo's heart skip a few beats. Her face had already turned red uncontrollably. I want to hear you talk. Just about you and me. That voice was even lower, mellow and seductive. Yi Qing Luo bit her lower lip, I lost to you. Finally, she could hear his voice. He wanted to make use of this rare opportunity to listen to her words of love. Shouldn't they take this opportunity to discuss their current situation and analyze how to leave this mansion together? However, listening to the man's seductive words, Yi Qing Luo had no way to reject. Towards Dmo Xian's beauty, she would never be able to refuse. Yi Qing Luo started to rummage through her mind for all the local love words that she knew. Ah Xian, when it comes to liking you, I am #1 in the world. Although you have walked out of my sight, I can't walk out of my longing for you. Far away in the depths of the horizon ridge, a person stood on the back of a nine-tailed fox, floating in midair. That peerless face was filled with softness. His eyes were filled with gentleness and love. However, the surging waves around him seemed to be able to overturn the entire Tinya ridge. The hurricane howled, and the tyrannical profound waves surged behind him like raging waves. His hands moved and his sleeves fluttered. The profound light grew stronger and stronger as it charged into the boundless forest ahead. Rumble, a decaying aura pervaded the entire space. Bam! A heavy collision sound was heard. The energy which he released seemed to have collided against an invisible barrier, as it was bounced back. The fastest update speed, hurry up and read it. Download address, cell phone reading. Chapter 4398. The vast energy eroded everything around it. 3 steps away from Dmo Xian, because of the rebounding energy, the entire Tianya ridge was shaking incessantly. Bam, 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 the tyrannical profound waves collided again and again. And were rebounded by that invisible barrier again and again. Each wave was more turbulent than the last. Each wave was more majestic and vast than the last. Everything around it was razed to the ground. But, even though it created such a horrifying scene, the man's face was still so gentle and pampering. There was not a bit of evil aura on it. It was as if the surrounding environment was treacherous. It was not created by him. And he seemed to have no connection with the surrounding environment. By his ear, he only heard the gentle voice of a young lady, gently ringing. The gentle voice was filled with the sweetness and tenderness of a young lady. Each and every word was like a warm current, rippling in his heart. He would occasionally respond with a word or two. From time to time, he would use a low and alluring voice to reply a few words. Even at the same time when he was doing such a gentle thing, the surrounding profound waves did not stop for even a little bit. On the contrary, along with the gentleness in his eyes, his imposing manner and broad and violent overbearingness, as if it could swallow everything in the world. He did not know how long it lasted. The young lady's voice suddenly stopped. After several breaths of silence, her voice was a little hoarse. A low sigh, overflowing from her lips. "Ah, Xian, I miss you," another set of rustic words of love. But in the end, at the very end, she only had the words, "miss you," to express everything in her heart. The man's shimmering peach blossom eyes seemed to have light floating, captivating one's soul. He slightly raised his hand, caressed the netherworld dragon ring on his fingertip, as if he could caress the young lady's face through the air. Miss her. He missed her too. Wanted to hold her in his arms, to hug her tightly, to touch her body temperature, to smell the fragrance on her body, to feel her by his side, just at this moment. Suddenly, from the other side of the ring, came the young lady's slightly tense voice. "Zhuwu Axayan, what are you doing here again?" The man's pupils suddenly contracted. On the other side of the room, Yiqing Luo was staring at the profound phoenix ring in a daze. She couldn't wait to leap into Dmo Xian's arms through the profound phoenix ring. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Her emotions immediately tensed up. She jumped up from the bed and saw Zhu Wuxin walking in with a cold expression. Zhu Wuxin's expression was cold, and there seemed to be some sort of emotion in his eyes. It was extremely frightening. "Zhu Wuxin, what are you doing here again?" Yiqing Luo clutched the profound phoenix ring tightly, her heart thumped hard. Surely it couldn't be that. Zhuwu Axayan had discovered that she had made contact with Dmo Xian. His complexion was extremely frightening. Without saying a word, Zhu Wuxin slowly approached her. An invisible pressure poured down on them. The air seemed to be frozen into frost. She stared at Zhuwu Axayan's gloomy face and clenched her fingers tightly. "Zhuwu Axayan, what exactly do you want to do?" Ah! Her wrist was forcefully grabbed by Zhu Wuxin. That wide palm was extremely powerful. Pressing both her arms, he pressed her body onto the bed. Yiqing Luo's expression instantly turned extremely ugly as her voice revealed a chilly tone. Zhu Wuxian, do you know what you're doing? I've never been more clear-headed than now. Zhu Wuxian looked at her from above, and between his brows was a deep coldness which Yiqing Luo couldn't understand. Please remember this book's domain name. Com, Wonderful Book House mobile version website. Com. Chapter 4399. His pair of cold eyes reflected the girl's cold and elegant and exquisite face that could topple cities. His long slender fingers slowly caressed Yiqing Luo's delicate face. His fingertips moved gently towards her lips. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed past, and in this dim room, it revealed a chilly glint. Zhu Wuxian, if you dare to make another move, I will make you unable to be a man for the rest of your life. Her tone was filled with an eerie chill. Her alluring eyes were filled with endless enmity towards men. That sinister gaze pierced Zhu Wuxian's eyes. He pursed his thin lips tightly as his chest seemed to be accumulating some kind of unsuppressible emotion. Hall Master's words kept reverberating in his mind. His eyes were filled with black whirlpools as it turned more and more berserk. Yiqing Luo could clearly feel the aura of death from Zhu Wuxian's body. That icy cold feeling as though it was isolated from the world. It made her a little apprehensive. Move aside. Her voice deepened. Zhu Wuxian gave a low laugh as his long hair poured down onto Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Luo, I've said this before. I won't let go. His tone was mixed with a craziness which he himself didn't even notice. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes squinted slightly as her eyes were filled with coldness and indifference. Zhu Wuxian, you asked for this yourself. Her words had just ended. Her legs suddenly bent upwards as she used all her strength to knock against the man's crotch. Her action was very sudden. Plus, Zhu Wuxian totally didn't expect that Yiqing Luo, who had lost her profound energy, would have any power to retaliate. This time, it was a heart-wrenching pain. No matter how indifferent Zhu Wuxian was, he was in so much pain that his forehead was oozing with cold sweat. Yiqing Luo took the opportunity to escape from his body. Immediately following that, her fingertips moved. Some white powder floated in the air. Following that, she didn't even take a look at Zhu Wuxian as her figure speedily shifted towards the door. Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wuxian staggered as he chased after her. Because of the pain somewhere, every step he took seemed as though he was stepping on a sharp knife. He chased to the door. He held onto the door with one hand as his expression was cold. Stand right there. Yiqing Luo seemed as though she hadn't heard what he said. He quickly rushed out of the courtyard. Zhu Wuxin wanted to give chase. However, his entire body felt as if there were sharp blades stabbing into his lower abdomen one by one, along with the place which Yiqing Luo had kicked earlier. The pain was getting more and more indescribable. Wuxin. The Hall Master also wanted to come over and check on the current progress. The moment he arrived, he saw Zhu Wuxin lying at the door, twitching in pain. He quickly rushed over and helped Zhu Wuxin up. What happened? Where's that little girl? Zhu Wuxin grabbed his wrist with the back of his hand. His palms were full of cold sweat. That deathly pale face seemed to be filled with extreme pain. He enunciated each word with an ice-cold gaze. Catch her, don't let her escape. Don't. This was the first time the Hall Master had seen Zhu Wuxin in such a sorry state. The palace lord looked at Zhu Wuxin's appearance, then at his slightly bent body, as if he was in extreme pain somewhere. The expression on his face was very complicated. He patted Zhu Wuxin's shoulder. This is the enchantment that you've conjured, she can't escape. But are you sure you don't want to cure the poison first? His gaze fell onto a certain part of Zhu Wuxin. You must know that this part of a man is very important. If you're not careful, in the future you might. Please remember this book's domain name. Com, Wonderful Book House mobile version website. Com. Chapter 4400. Zhu Wuxian's eyes suddenly blurred. The image of the young girl looking at him with hostility and an ashen face appeared in his mind. He could still hear the girl's cold words ringing in his ears. I will make it so that you can never be a man. She was referring to, is that it? Once, after being removed from her world, she would not be soft-hearted. In her heart. Right now, he was just an enemy. Wuxian. I'll detoxify you first. The temple master looked at him with a pale face and a bitter smile on his face. He gritted his teeth and carried him up. Zhu Wuxin's breathing was tight. His voice was pained, but it was filled with determination. Find her. I want her to personally cure me of the poison. He could not possibly let go of Yiqing Luo. Even if she hated him, it didn't matter. Even if he was treated as an enemy, it didn't matter. He must keep her by his side. Zhu Wuxin. The leader of the temple gnashed his teeth and glared at Zhu Wuxin. What have I done to deserve a brother like you? He carried her into the room. Just as he was about to press the other party onto the bed, Zhu Wuxin's hand gripped it tightly. Don't touch her bed. The palace master's movements paused. Why are you so hard to please? Zhu Wuxin forcefully closed his eyes. The intense pain from his lower abdomen caused large beads of cold sweat to appear on his forehead. Put me on the ground, he said with difficulty. Temple master, are you sick? Yiqing Luo, she doesn't wish for her place to be tainted with my scent. Zhu Wuxian lowered his head slightly, as his voice was so light that there was only a breath left. As his words fell, the surrounding atmosphere was so low that it was a little terrifying. You're really sick. The temple master endured for a long time before swallowing the last few words. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Then, he carried the man to the corner of the room and made him lean against the wall. He pressed Zhu Wuxin against the wall, untied his outer robe, and covered Zhu Wuxin with it. He was about to get up. His gaze swept past Zhu Wuxin's face. His movements suddenly paused, his eyes staring unblinkingly at Zhu Wuxian's face. Wuxin, you. The Hall Master's pupils dilated slightly, as if he had received a great shock. What did he see? Zhu Wuxin's deep and dark eyes that were like deep pools were actually filled with thick black mist. The mist was spreading through the building. One could faintly see the infatuation in Zhu Wuxian's eyes, as well as his deep obsession towards Yiqing Luo. What was going on? Why was there such a strange feeling on Wuxian's body? The temple master was just about to reach out and touch Zhu Wuxin's eyes. He had just raised his hand, but he hadn't even gotten close. Zhu Wuxin raised his hand and slapped him down. Go after them. Bring her back. She can't escape, she can't escape. His hoarse voice was bone-chilling. However, there was also a sense of treachery that made one's hair stand on end. The temple master felt even more uneasy and strange. However, under Zhu Wuxin's urging, he took a deep look at Zhu Wuxian before turning around and leaving the room. After Yiqing Luo left this courtyard, she speedily headed towards that ancient tree. In the profound phoenix ring, the man's voice had already been cut off. Perhaps earlier when Zhu Wu Axan was pressing down on her arm, it had cut off the connection between her and Dmo Xian. Not knowing, earlier Zhu Wu Axan's voice was not heard by Ah Xian. If he heard it, and the connection between them was suddenly cut off, Ah Xian he would definitely be extremely anxious. Chapter 4401. No way. She couldn't let Ah Xian worry. She must hurry and tell Ah Xian that she was fine. Yiqing Luo's long and thick eyelashes fluttered slightly. Her beautiful eyes revealed a trace of determination. Yiqing Luo had already remembered the path she had taken. It wasn't difficult to find that ancient tree which made the profound phoenix ring react. But, when she reached the garden, however, he was stopped by two petite figures in front of him. The little girl looked like 12 or 13 years old and she timidly stretched out her arms, blocking Yiqing Luo's path. Yiqing Luo ignored them and prepared to walk past them. But the moment she moved, the two little girls followed and moved, blocking in front of Yiqing Luo. Move aside. Yiqing Luo's face sunk as she spoke coldly. The two little girls shook their heads hard. Yiqing Luo's brows surfaced a chilly intent. Move aside, don't force me to make a move. The little girl was so scared that she trembled all over as her mouth was agape, but she couldn't say a single word. However, they didn't seem to have the slightest intention of moving their bodies away. It's him who asked you to stop me. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. Her voice had just ended when she heard a clear voice, it's me. That voice was very unfamiliar. But vaguely, there was a little bit of familiarity. Didn't Qi Yan say, there was no one else in this residence other than the four of them? How could there be other people? Yiqing Luo looked towards the direction of the voice. She saw a tall figure descending from the sky. A loose bamboo-colored robe revealed his fair chest muscles. His face was like jade and he looked handsome. Yiqing Luo's brows jumped, profound Hall Master. The man's brows rose as he laughed lightly. I didn't expect Miss Yi to still remember me. It's really you. Yiqing Luo was shocked. Why are you here? Why wasn't he in his profound hall but here in the heaven realm? Of course, to help Wu Axan. Wu Yu. The Hall Master's thin lips curled upwards, as though he was an immortal. He slowly walked towards Yiqing Luo. Follow me back to help Wu Axan detoxify. Yiqing Luo's expression changed. You mean? Zhu Wu Axan became so strange and suddenly did that kind of thing to me, was taught by you. Don't you like it? A trace of hostility flashed through the cold eyes of the palace master. Don't women like this kind of things that are superficial and meaningless? Words of love. Surprise. Or is it the unique tenderness for you? Since Wu Axan is willing to change for you, it means that his feelings for you are true. Why do you have to reject him again and again? Yiqing Luo naturally sensed the enmity the Hall Master had towards her. It was the first time he met the Palace Master. He restrained his aura and did not reveal his fangs that were too sharp. But, this time, the Palace Master clearly wanted to kill her. Yiqing Luo maintained her own emotions as her voice was indifferent. Whether to accept him or not is my business. Don't force your own thoughts onto Zhu Wu Axan and me. Wu Xin is my brother. The ruthlessness in the palace master's eyes intensified. You even put that kind of poison on him. Come with me to cure the poison immediately. Yiqing Luo sneered, thanks to you, isn't it because of you that he became like this? The palace master's face turned pale, and his figure suddenly moved. His wide sleeves rustled in the air, giving off a loud sound. The profound waves surged wantonly, like a raging hurricane, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws at Yiqing Luo, as though it wanted to swallow her up. I say. The young lady's red lips were charming as it rose slightly. Have you liked Zhu Wuxian for a long time? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.